Oh, da, 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 da. Let's pick that one up. Subscriptions.
G'day, I'm from Definitely Not the Real Australian Electoral Commission. Are you one of the millions of Australians who still don't get how our voting system works? Of course you are. So let's go through this one more bloody time before Election Day. Australia uses a preferential voting system, and it's fucking awesome. These poor bastards wish they had it, so the least you can do is know how to use it. Just number the candidates in your order of preference. Your 1 is your favourite, your 2 is your second fave, your 3 is your, well, I guess they're better than syphilis, and so on down to your last choice. Why are there 2 ballot papers? Because we love paperwork. No, you pelican. It's because we have 2 Houses of Parliament. The green one's for the House of Reps.
Hello, Reza. Hello. How are things on the ground in the northeast of England? And what the fuck, giving that man that entire ego boost? Fuck, we're never going to hear the bloody end of that man frog. I feel for you, I do. And if I can help alleviate any of that pain, let me know. Obviously, educating the masses is a mission of mine. Hopefully I will reach at least one person. Well, I've reached a lot of people, obviously. Holy fuck, I've got 262 fucking followers. Oh, I'm over the 50 mark for subs. So at least that's something. I'm being able to reach out to a lot of people. I'm happy about that. I'm on track. I hope by the time I'm 50, which is 4 years' time, I'll be on over 1,000 people. Fingers crossed. Feel free to spread the word about a mad Scottish woman who talks about socialism. This is about the upcoming Australian election, which is... Oh no, we're still on Friday. They vote on Saturdays, which seems weird. But I suppose Thursday's weird as well. I get those feelings. I get why people are like that. Don't get me wrong, the people who voted for reform, fair enough, vote for the bastards if you like them. But the ones where they've actually got the councils now, dear God, they're going to be for the policies? Do they have Christ, they got voted into the council, so fuck it, they might have policies, who knows? Oh God, you've not got a reform mayor now, have you? Christ's sake. I think a lot of this is a protest vote. I do actually get those feelings. But what are you going to do when Labour are being absolute bastards? The Tories are hell-bent on destroying them. Oh, fuck it, they're already destroyed in my opinion. Hopefully they'll get booted out from either... I can't remember how many MSPs actual constituencies have. I think most of the scum up here are list. So they get voted in on the proportional representation part of our vote next year. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we can get some more green MSPs into constituency seats, which would be good. Fingers crossed. I'm going to do something completely mad. I'm going to go out canvassing next year in my local constituency. That'll be fun. Oh. Well, don't worry. There's lots of there's a few Welsh people in Helena's chat and in Kev's chat, and hopefully they can come over to me as well, and I can help them when the Senate votes next year, when we have ours next year as well. So that's the next round in a year's time, essentially. Honestly, it depends on the weather. So the campaigning will mostly be in late March, so after my birthday, and April, because it's the same 6-week fucking cycle, essentially. It gets treated like the general election does for Westminster. Oh, I can keep you positive. Don't you worry about that. There's plenty that we can talk about and we can get cheered up about. And I can educate you all, which is good. I said last year during the general election in June and July, during the campaigning, they never hit my close, my actual flat, but they hit all the ones around it. Funny that. It's like they know a fucking socialist lives in a flat. Mind you, I'm not closed about that. I let everyone know my politics, for fuck's sake. They need to be taught. I told them Labour's going to fuck us again. You can't trust the bastards. And look what's happening. At least the SNP are mitigating some of the worst ones. Don't you worry. There's plenty of time before the next general election that we can help educate people, Reza. Don't worry.
Government is formed. You must number every box, and there's huge ones for the Senate. Here you can vote either above the line for parties or below the line for candidates. The more boxes you number, the more effective your vote will be. What's that? Can I waste my vote? No, because if your first choice doesn't win, your second choice is counted, and so on. Which is why in Australia, it's impossible to waste your vote, unless you draw a dick on your ballot. Am I helping the shit party to win if I vote 1 for a minor party or independent? No, this isn't Canada or America with their primitive first past the post garbage. Because look, if your first choice doesn't get enough votes to win, your vote transfers at full value to your second choice, then your third, and so on. It doesn't weaken, it doesn't get diluted, it just moves. So you can vote for whoever you like and still keep out the party that sucks by putting them last. But the nice person outside the polling booth gave me this how to vote card. Those are just suggestions from political parties. You can follow them if you trust that party, or you can just ignore them and use your own brain. But how to vote cards do help to tell you the kind of values a party stands for. So for example, when these guys suggest you put a 2 next to these fuckburgers, it confirms that they really are the shit party. Even Scotty from marketing didn't do that, which tells you this guy is even shitter than him. Okay, but I really want Labor Daddy in government, so shouldn't I put them first? Sure, if you feel the party that approved 10 coal mine extensions in a climate crisis, kept job seeker below poverty levels in a cost of living crisis, and wants house prices to keep rising in a housing crisis, deserves your vote, put them first. Just make sure to put the shit party last. That way, if Labor doesn't win your seat, your second preference will get your vote instead of the shit party. But if you think a minor party or community independent is the not shit choice, put them first. It'll help fund the peeps you actually like, send a signal to the major parties that you're sick of their shit, and if your not shit candidates don't win, your vote will go to Labor anyway, as long as you put the shit party last. So remember, number every box in your order of preference, not what's on.
I like that third and fourth one you see on some of the ballot paper is better than syphilis. That's debatable, really. Some of the policies from like the Tories under Kemi Badenoch and fucking hell Manfrog, just no. Piss off, really, can't be arsed. They are going to try and do a lot of canvassing up here, reform, for Holyrood. I hope they lose all their fucking deposits. And seriously, trying in Glasgow, We're one of the most left-wing fucking cities in the entire country. Come ahead and try it if you want. And seriously, Nigel, if you want to come up and debate me, I'd love to speak to you. That's a good bet, Reza, actually. There's areas close to the border like Dumfriesshire and Kirkcudbrightshire and stuff. Then on the other side of the east coast, they might be swayed. And up in Aberdeen, where GB Energy is getting based, they might target those. And if they have got any fucking sense to themselves, they won't target places like my hometown of or my home city of Perth or Glasgow, because that would... Seriously, we don't vote for scum like you. We don't like you. Manfrog is a Manfrog and infuriates us. You can go back to Henry and get a better reception. Let's see, where else can they get? Stonehaven maybe, that's just a little bit south of Aberdeen. The Lib Dems and Labour and SNP have basically got most of the inner and outer Hebrides sewn up. They're serious, they're daft if they try the central belt. Edinburgh will either stick with Labour or go SNP for some seats again. But targeting Glasgow is just nonsense in my opinion, for them, because we don't vote for them. We haven't voted for the scum since the fucking 50s. The last stronghold, the last one that held on the longest was Sir Nicholas Fairbairn in my home city of Perth, and he got booted by Rosanna Cunningham from the SNP, and she's been in well, Rosie's gone now, she's in Holyrood, but it's Pete Wishart and Swinney. Yeah. Please tell me you don't have family members that voted for reform, do you, Reza? Reach out to your family members, that's the easiest thing. Obviously, you see them most. But reach out to other people in your area that you see around the day and stuff like that. But getting to your family is obviously the very easiest thing to do, to talk to them, to get them to stop, well, at least don't vote reform. Or vote for the scum. I'd rather you vote for Labour in that instance instead of voting to give Manfrog a fucking ego boost. I still don't know who this woman is that's got it voted into Runcorn. Maybe we'll check her out.
Party says, not what this sentient ham texts you. And if you're worried about the shit party getting in, just put them last. It'll still get the job done. How good is preferential voting? Now piss off and vote. This has been a message from definitely not the real Australian Electoral Commission. Please don't prosecute us.
It's an ex-Tory, God, fucking aimed me. Okay, let's check this Runcorn by-election. Oh, Chris, it's GB News.
All of the candidates now gathering on stage. The returning officer about to make that official declaration here on GB News. Will we be getting official confirmation of what Reform has told us? Here we are.
Well, we are listening.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Before we do the formal declaration, I know it's been a long evening. Can I take this opportunity to thank all of the staff who are...
Did you hear about the majority? Oh, fuck it, we'll get to it. They'll say how much that is anyway.
Worked tirelessly on today's election, on the count this evening and into the early hours, and also with regard to those staff who man the polling stations.
Well, I will just say this, it went to recount. So I think this is probably about 3 or 4 in the fucking morning, so everyone's probably fucking knackered. 16th safest Labour seat apparently, and it's just south of... Runcorn's just south of Liverpool, isn't it, Reza? If I remember correctly. Which is seen as a fucking Labour heartland, Helen, I was saying earlier on. So this hopefully this might actually wake up Sir Kid Starver and hopefully get McSweeney booted. Unfortunately, we can't get rid of Pat McFadden because he's an actual MP. Fuck. Still can't believe he's from fucking Glasgow.
During the last day, the election wouldn't have been possible without their hard work, so can I send my thanks to them. And can I also pass on my thanks to all of the partners who've worked with the Council, particularly the police, to ensure this has been a free and fair election. OK, ladies and gentlemen, I will now hand over to Joelle Warren, the High Secretary of Cheshire, to formally declare the result.
Declaration of result of poll for the election of a Member of Parliament for Runcorn and Helsby, held on the Thursday, the 1st of May 2025. I, Joelle Warren, High Sheriff of Cheshire, being the returning officer at the above election, do hereby give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at the said election is as follows. Catherine Ann Blakelock, English Democrats, deport all illegal immigrants, 95. Dan Clark, the Liberal Party, 454. Chris Copeman, the Green Party, 2,314. Paul Michael Duffy, Liberal Democrats, 942. Peter Ford, Workers' Party of Britain, 164. Howling Lord Hope, the official monster raving lunatic party, 128. Sean Holston, the Conservative Party candidate, 2,341. Jason Philip Hughes, Volt UK, the UK in Europe, 54. Alan Mackay, Independent, 269. Graham Harry Moore, English Constitution Party, Freedom, 50. Paul Andrew Murphy, Social Democratic Party, 68. Sarah Joanne Pochin, Reform UK, 12,645. Karen Louise Shaw, Labour Party, 12,639. John Stevens, Rejoin EU, 129. Michael Williams, Independent, 363. The number of ballot papers rejected was total of 85, and I do hereby declare that Sarah Joanne Pochin is duly elected as a Member of Parliament for the Runcorn and Helsby constituency.
Okay, I'd now like to ask the successful candidate just to say a few words.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a very long night, but we've got here. Firstly, I would also like to add my thanks to the returning officer and the team from the Halton Borough Council and the Cheshire West and Cheshire Borough Council for the efficient and professional way that this election has been conducted. My thanks go to Cheshire Police for ensuring that this has been a safe campaign for the candidates. And I would like to pay tribute to all the candidates for the way that we have all conducted ourselves through what has been a very intense and highly pressurised few weeks. I would like to thank my election agent, Jason Moorcroft, for being by my side throughout the whole election, and we'll continue to work together going forward. I have a team of I've had a team of very talented, dedicated and professional individuals behind me every step of the way. And I would like to thank them all from the bottom of my heart. Firstly, to our great leader, Nigel Farage, who has so inspired me to stand up for this country. To our party chairman, Sir Youssef, who has given me invaluable support and counsel throughout this campaign, and to the exceptional team led by John Burns, my campaign manager. You are all such very impressive individuals. It's been a privilege to work with you, and I'm so proud to be part of that team. And finally, my thanks go to all the volunteers who have diligently canvassed and delivered leaflets, been on the polling stations. I was going to say today.
And to think these people are going to try and target certain seats, even here in Glasgow? Idiotic. I hope they all lose their deposits next year. Seriously, fuck it. I will have fun canvassing. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be great. I am so glad I'm a member of the Green Party now. I'm loving it. The policies they're going to be bringing forward for next year's election are going to be amazing. Oh God, I wouldn't put it past them either, Reza. Honestly, I wouldn't. They're that fucking mad. We don't vote for these policies. We used to fucking decades ago, before I was even fucking born. For Christ's sake, my mum didn't even go that bad. She's kind of left-leaning. She's SNP. She has been since about the mid-80s, really. Perth was always seen as a safe Tory seat in Scotland, whatever the fuck that means. It isn't now. It's been SNP, solid SNP since about the late 80s. She'd done the one in 83 after she won her short victorious war in the Falklands. Then 87. Then she got a bit of a bruising. Then in 92 we had... Then it was Major. We still had him as our MP for Perth. But then the Boundary Commission changed it all. Then in the 97... Was it 92 or 97 that's when he got voted in? I can't remember. But in 97 it went solid SNP for all of Perthshire. So I rejoiced at that, thank fuck. We booted the scum. Like I say, Perth, Scotland, especially Glasgow, we've just got more progressive. And all the major parties, especially for Westminster elections, they've regressed, they've went back. And no, we don't vote for that kind of bollocks. Fuck off. We look after each other. And we vote in parties that are going to look after the populace. But we ain't getting that anymore. Not from Westminster, at least. Aberdeen. I think they might actually get in one of the constituency seats up in Aberdeen. Stephen Flynn is Aberdeen South for Westminster. They're targeting that one because he's thinking of calling a by-election before next May so he can run for the constituency. The constituency in his area for Holyrood is a little bit bigger than what he's got for Aberdeen South. So he might come back up, leave Westminster and come up to Holyrood. But there's plenty of time for him to change his mind and stay down in Westminster and actually be a good Scottish voice down in Westminster for us. He's doing quite well down there. Is it? I don't know too much about certain parts of England. I know quite a lot about London, obviously, because London. But a lot of different areas within England, I don't know a lot about. Yeah, it is kind of Sunderland coded, and I think in the industrial bases that are, well, Sunderland used to have, that Aberdeen still have. Obviously, Newcastle kind of similar to Aberdeen. Also, you've got a lot of the port sites down the east coast, on the North Sea in England as well, and they're kind of Aberdeen coded. Obviously, they're not as big and not as energy focused as Aberdeen is. Obviously, North Sea oil and all that. But yeah, I can see them getting swayed in like 4 or 5 years. When 2029, so it'll be 4 years, 4.5 years. Well, not now, no. So that was the 4th of July last year. So 4 years and 2 months. We'll see what happens. I'll be watching out. I'll be looking for signs and stuff like that over the next few years to see what happens. I was really hoping reform would get scalped. I was hoping for, Christ, I hate having to say this, Labour would have been better than a reform fucking MP for Runcorn. Runcorn, for the people in Runcorn that didn't vote for this person, for this reform candidate to be your MP, I feel for you. I really do. So what's that? Are they up to 6 now? Oh no, well they kicked out Rupert and she's just 1. So there's basically still the same 5 then. He's essentially an independent now. Fucking hell. Haha, get wrecked, Rupert.
But I think it was yesterday. We couldn't have done it without you. The people of Runcorn and Helsby have spoken.
I don't think we need to listen to this woman.
Enough is enough. Enough Tory failure. Enough Labour lies. And I want to thank...
Go away. Give me a minute. Turn out. Runcorn. By-election. Yeah, fucking let's check the BBC. Reform UK has won the Runcorn and Helsby by-election by just 6 fucking votes, beating Labour after a dramatic recount. For Christ's sake. Recounts aren't that dramatic. They do happen, for fuck's sake. In Sir Keir Starmer's first major electoral test as Prime Minister, former Conservative councillor Sarah Pochin overturned a 14,696 majority to take the Cheshire seat for Reform. Boo. As well as winning its first ever parliamentary by-election, also boo, From also took its first mayoralty, in Greater Lincolnshire, what the fuck? And control of its first councils in Staffordshire, Lincolnshire and Durham. Oh, Reza, I feel for you, I really do. Labour held on in 3 other mayoral races and the Prime Minister responded to the losses by saying, I get it, and pledging to go further and faster on making changes. Do you get it here? Do you? I don't think you do, really. You are basically a puppet to Pat McFadden and Morgan McSweeney. We all know this, we can see it fucking happening with our own 2 fucking Mark 1 eyeballs. Ah, the Professor. Reform challenging traditional party dominance, fuck off. Sarah Pochin has been elected as Reform's 5th MP on a massive 17.4% swing. Fuck me. From Labour in what was one of the party's safest seats. Like Helena keeps on saying, and I will repeat it, there is no such thing as a safe seat now. Those things are in the past. They're gone. No such thing. Campaigners claiming the result was on a knife edge. Yeah, well, a majority of fucking 6. That's fuck all. That's nothing. Were proven correct when the first count put Nigel Farage's Manfrog's party ahead by just 4 votes. And Labour requested a recount. Oh, Christ. I thought it finished at about 4. No, the recount started at 4. Christ, everyone must have been fucking zombies at that point. Oh, for fuck. 46.2% turnout. Christ's sake. Wasn't even a fucking majority of the populace that went out to vote. Christ, that's depressing. Beats the previous post-war record for the closest by-election, which the Rebels won by 57 votes in Berwick-upon-Tweed in 73. Farage, who appeared at the count shortly before the result was declared, of course he did, he wants all the fucking glory, he doesn't care about that woman, I think, said his party takes on the responsibility that comes with winning elections with glee. Really? We don't need you gleeful, Nigel, thank you. We can see that support for the Labour Party has collapsed within 10 months of them winning the general election. Yeah, and we all know why. We hate most of their fucking policies, and you think you're going to do any fucking better? Christ's sake. I think we've supplanted the Conservative Party now as the main opposition. With 5 MPs? You do know that the Tories still have 121, by the way. Sorry, I'm missing what you're saying, Reza. Give me a second. Ribbit. It's the one, excuse me, it's the councils that actually have reform and control. When they want to implement some of their crazy, well, maybe not, they're basically right-wing policies. They can't do that. They do actually have to do spending. They do have to do this. There's a mandate for do it, and if they don't, the Labour government in Westminster will have to step in. That'll be fun to see. Kieran, Rachel and fucking Morgan McSweeney might have a meltdown live in the House of Commons. I'd pay to fucking see that. He added, the message that we're getting in places where we didn't win was that if you vote Conservative, you actually get Labour. Well, yeah, we've been saying that for about 5 years. We knew this after the coup, after they supplanted Corbyn. We knew what the policies were going to be. For fuck's sake, Reeves and Kendall had been saying this for the last fucking 8 years. Both of them. Well, Kendall more than when Reeves got voted in. They've been saying the same fucking policies for fucking years now. We know this. It's now on fucking a decade. The two of them have been saying these kind of policies that they would implement them if they ever got into government. And look what they're doing. Absolutely decimating fucking society. Ruining the lives of disabled and elderly people across the land. That's all I want. It needs to get the turnout 46.2. That is fucking crap. Oh God, yeah, I can definitely see that. Definitely can see that happening easily. I'm giving it a week, then they'll start seeing all that kind of stuff. Christ, it's fucking depressing. Would we like some fun, or do we want to see what else? Oh, is that Politics Joe? Let's check in with Politics Joe, see how they're doing.
Love podcasts ain't nonsense. It's the Politics Joe podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Take 2.
Right, before we get into this, I need to go and relieve myself. I'll be back. Give me a minute. Oh, yeah, I get you.
Even better than the first one.
Even better.
Laura Beveridge,
Sean Hickey.
how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Are you excited to be living in this post-local elections world?
The turquoise wave has hit.
It has. Or it's just starting, I guess. We won't know the full results until 1 p.m. But from the offset, they've got a massive head start.
Yes. So we're recording this in the morning, dear listener. So there may be more news at the time that you're listening. But at the moment, we have a Reform MP in the shape of Sarah Pochin in Runcorn.
Returning the party in Parliament back up to 5 MPs post losing Rupert Lowe.
The ideal number of MPs for Reform is 5. And they've been at 6s and 7s.
The ideal number for Reform MPs is 0. Ideally. Just saying.
Since losing Rupert Lowe, but now they feel whole again.
And they have women now as well.
Crucially, yeah. I think I saw LBC, Henry Riley was speaking to Sarah Pochin afterwards, after she won the by-election. And the question was along the lines of being Reform's first female MP. And I'd never seen an MP say something like it before. Maybe Kemi Badenoch has said something to this effect at some point. But Sarah Pochin said that she doesn't really think of, which is a good thing to say, that like, male, female, doesn't matter. I'm me. I'm the representative of Runcorn. But then she went on to say, like, men also have very difficult lives and things that that put them at a disadvantage. And I felt seen.
We've never said opposite that. Of course men have it bad as well. We've never disagreed with that, basically, us leftoids. We want everyone to thrive. We want everyone to be looked after. We want to tax rich bastards. Oh, God. Yeah. Come on, what have they got? They've got someone who beats up partners. Most of them are former Tory, aren't they? I know Manfrog is. He was a former Tory, for fuck's sake. He was a Tory from about the 80s. So has he changed his stripes? Probably in certain aspects over the years. And people keep on saying to us, you get more right-wing as you get older. Do we bollocks? Some of the best Marxist communists I know are well into their 70s, actually, up here in Scotland. There's probably a few down in England as well, in Wales and Northern Ireland. Not that such a thing should exist, really. Very naughty of me to say that. My sister's in-laws live in Ballycastle, a little Republican stronghold on the north coast of Ireland. Oh God, I hope the pair of them are fucking burning. What me and Super Happy actually say, it's quite funny to think about this one, because I do actually think about this actually happening, is her and Paisley Sr. battling for control of hell, and Satan off to the side just saying nothing to fucking do with me, I didn't want them back in here. And what do you want then, Satan? Them back up here? Fuck off. You deal with them now, they're your problem. So they're fighting for control of the fiery hellscape. Seriously, it's where the pair of them fucking belong. I seriously hope they're in their own little private hells, really, not battling out for control of hell. But at least they're not fucking bothering us. Even though they've still got a fucking progeny in the Tory party as well, and Reform, and other fucking right-wing fundamentalist idiots. Don't get me wrong, we've got fundamentalists on the left as well. Just look at fucking Paul Mason, fuck.
by an MP for the first time ever.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
You wouldn't say she's a DEI hire.
Well, she is the Men's Mental Health Minister of Reform UK.
But another female win for Reform as well, in the form of Andrea Jenkins, who is the new Metro Mayor of Great Lincolnshire.
Both of which are formerly of the Conservative Party parish. Pochin was a councillor in the area that Runcorn is in. And obviously Andrea Jenkins was in Boris Johnson's cabinet. Famously told the British public to fuck off.
Yeah.
What a fantastic world that we're living in, that people who vote for... I think we're in like a metasphere of it, right? The Labour Party line is, or has been, with the party of change, a vote for Labour is a vote for change, which was what they were running on no less than a year ago, Laura Beveridge. No less than a year ago. You now have a...
Oh, tonight's poison of choice. I felt like beer. And I do kind of like bud.
Party of the right, claiming to be the real party of change, aptly named Reform UK, but
That's
comprised almost entirely by former Conservative MPs and councillors. Where, like, I can't work out where the change in any of it is.
And also led by a UKIP candidate as well. Like, these are all people that are establishment political figures that are leading.
Maybe I should put a comment in. Please, young people younger than under 30 or in their early to mid 30s. Farage started out in the Tories. We have to keep on reminding people of that. He was a former Tory. He was a Tory party member and tried 7 times and failed. Ha ha ha. Fuck, he got voted in on the 8th. Just fucking end me. He was a Tory. He's a Thatcherite. You haven't to see her fucking name. Do you see more defections happening, Reza? Do you think that might happen? I could see it happening.
The Reform Party, they aren't insurgents to the political establishment. They've been about for decades in British political life. They are so ingrained in it that to represent themselves as the outsider is quite laughable. But that idea of change is really powerful, because I went to Runcorn before the by-election was officially triggered, but when it was quite imminent. And I spoke to a couple of the people there. Shall we hear from them?
Let's hear from them.
I think Reform should take over. I think they've got better ideas. They're talking more common sense. This government's making a right mess of things.
Tories, my dude.
And I think we should look at Reform for the future to put this country right.
Do you agree with that?
Totally. Exactly. Totally everything that Derek said. I think we need to have a fresh start again, and I think Reform's going to be the one to do it.
The Tories. Give me a policy that you like, that they've actually promoted, that they've talked about during the canvassing and campaigning for this by-election. Seriously. They are basically more right-wing Tories. Seriously. Yeah. Who have we got? I don't think any in the shadow cabinet, but I wouldn't be surprised if any of those ones jumped ship and went on to Reform. Wouldn't surprise me. Like a whole new Douglas Carswell for... Was that UKIP? Or was that Brexit? I think that might have been the Brexit Party iteration under Manfrog. So we had Carswell. Christ, how long ago was that? That was fucking ages ago. Was that slightly before or just slightly after Brexit? Fuck, I have to check. Give me a minute. Douglas. Carswell. Ah, it was UKIP. It wasn't the Brexit party, it was UKIP. And he'd done that, it was 2 years before the vote. He moved over to UKIP in 2014, so 11 years ago. Fucking hell. We've been doing this for far too fucking long with these bastards.
Did you guys vote for Reform or Mike Amesbury at the last general election?
Yeah, Reform.
I think probably Reform might well win that. And I think the politics of the day probably need a bit of a shake-up, really.
Why do you think Reform would win here?
Well, it's just the sense I have of people being ready for some change. And although, as I said earlier, he's been a good MP, I think there's a stirring about...
What the fuck is... Corporate Development Manager for Television Broadcasting in Italy. Oh God, he got a 2-1 in history. How old is he? Give me a minute. Christ, he's only a year young. Oh, fuck me sideways. Carswell's birthday's tomorrow. Well, oh no, today. It is his birthday today. He is 54. He's only a year younger than Super Hubby. Fucking hell, man. So he got a 2-1 in history from... Give me a minute. University of East Anglia. Oh Christ, that Professor Edward Acton, right. Okay. Both his parents were doctors. Bloody hell. His dad was the fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons up here. His dad's Scottish? How the fuck... Trust me, Scottish Tories are dying out. Most of them are boomers. Don't get me wrong, there's probably still some in Gen X who are older than me, obviously. A lot of my cohort from about 75 to 75 onwards, essentially, we're all leftists of some description or some flavour. But everyone born before 75 to 64, which are the older Gen Xers, quite a lot of them are fucking Tories and right-wing nut jobs, but they're obviously getting older. And a lot of the boomers in England and parts of Scotland as well, they're all kind of right-wing, but they're becoming, well, they're already a minority, really. Come on, we're fed up of living under these fucking shit conditions. We can't be arsed with it anymore. We are going to get more activated the more shit policies you fucking implement, a lot of yous. Please listen to us. If you're not going to do it, give us some sort of breadcrumbs or something. We are just going to get more and more pissed off at yous. Hopefully.
To have a change.
Would you be voting for that change?
I probably
Correct,
would,
Reza.
actually,
Yes.
yes.
Correct.
So I'd probably be voting Reform, I think.
It all depends who it is, but I would vote Reform.
Why is that?
Because Mike Ainsley's not Labour candidate.
So you're only voting for Labour here because it was Mike Amesbury?
Yeah, and he did things for the community, which the government's not doing anything for the community, are they?
Do you think that Reform could win in this constituency?
I hope so. But if Mike Ainsley was here, no.
So there we heard people saying that they are just quite desperate for change. I mean, the constituency there voted for change by voting in Mike.
Do you think they're going to hear that?
There's like a scratching sound, yeah.
There's a demon outside the studio, listener. We're not sure if you're going to be able to hear this. We'll try our best to get rid of the demon. But if you can hear it, you will find out on Tuesday if we're still alive.
Yeah. So, what should I start? I'll start from the...
Oh no, we're leaving all this in.
Okay.
Yeah. It adds to the
Great
character.
listening for them. Yeah, so those voices we just heard, they clearly voted for change. Runcorn and Halsey voted for change, which was, like you said, the Labour Party's slogan during the general election. Mike Amesbury won by a large majority. It was as large as safe seats in Hackney and Shoreditch. It was a huge majority.
As large as a small town.
Yeah.
15,000.
Yeah, it was a huge majority. A safe seat. But then clearly those people felt like the change hadn't been delivered in the 7-8 months that Labour had been in power, and they were still desperate for it, and they saw that change in Reform UK.
I think there is something to be said for how you constitute change or how you define change. The defence of Ellie Reeves was on the broadcast round this morning, drew the short straw, had to go out and make out as though there's nothing to see here. We still have a massive majority. Everything's fine. And the line being, people voted for change. We're delivering change. Change is...
Look at you, Reza. You've got two of me. You've got me and you've got me on Twitch and got me on YouTube. I always go and check to make sure no one's just sitting there alone.
Slow, incremental, yada, 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 yada. One of the things she had to point to was waiting lists in the NHS going down. Absolutely fine, fair enough. If you are the party of the left, the party of the worker, or certainly born of the party of the worker...
Yeah, feel free. Whenever I'm not copyright struck for playing songs or anything like that, or using other people, I have to be careful with BBC footage. I'm fine with Politics Joe. I'm fine with lovely Kyle Kalinske when I'm looking into US politics and stuff like that, or other US policy stuff and all that other hellscape over there on the other side of the Atlantic. But most of my copyright strikes have come from playing songs, mostly of the Disney variety, and that just gets smacked from orbit, and I lose privilege for a week. I'm willing to take the risk. I just have to remember, don't play Disney. Yeah, I'm always in there. I love Kev and Helena. They're amazing. I'm just wondering why Kev didn't stream tonight. I might actually go and check his Discord to see why he posted why he couldn't. He usually puts something funny, but it's probably because he's doing being a door steward or something. Oh, I finally got my passport approved. Thank fuck for that. Charge Hand, basically the assistant manager of one of my favourite pubs in Glasgow city centre. Lovely Charge Hand has co-signed. His passport's fully up to date. And he's held a personal licence for over a decade now. Maybe actually be closer to 15 years. Keep on meaning to ask him, actually. So, yay. They say 3 weeks and I'll get my passport recorded. So that's special delivery, silver envelope and everything. But unfortunately, right now, I'm decanted. I'm in this flat here. But my actual flat is getting fixed by my housing association. So it's getting fixed up, all the damp and everything's getting improved, changing the floorboards, giving us new carpet, and new white goods, and new bed, and new divan, mattress and stuff, and headboard, and painting all, doing some plastering, and giving us a fund, giving us a grant, essentially, to decorate and get stuff for the house. Victory! So once we're back in, you will never see Super Hubby's face. You might see a hand. And we'll be redoing the house and stuff. Oh, a new chest freezer. That'll be good. Our last one got rotted.
and you do things that are, well, you've got things like the workers' rights bill coming in. That may be a change that people can look to at some point in the future.
They've watered it down. It was good. It's been watered down. Don't get me wrong, it will give some basic rights back to workers. Thanks, Keir. At least that's something. But they're still punishing the old people and still punishing us poor disabled bastards. Serious problems with that. Still supporting a fucking genocide. Actually sending them weapons to kill fucking people, innocent children and mums and fathers, and entire fucking communities getting wiped out. Still not happy with you over that one. And please stop fucking targeting the disabled. We went through it for 14 fucking years under the scum. We can't take it anymore. Thank you. Ran over.
Future, but there is nothing material to look at now.
Yeah.
And look, we talk about them not being in power they haven't been in power for a year yet. But still, there are things that could have been done at some point in the past 9 months that have just not been done. You look at things like PIP payments, you look at things like the winter fuel payments, the 2-child benefit cap. None of these things are going to endear you to the public. And you can't...
Plus, the money they're saving for doing these essentially Tory policies is fuck all. It's a few billion at the most. Something like 3 or 4 billion, which is fucking nothing compared to what the government spends on a yearly basis. It's fuck all. Seriously. And increasing the bus fare from £2 to £3, 350 million is saving them. That is sweet FA in the scheme of things. Seriously, it is pointless. And like I keep on banging on about, stop targeting fucking disabled people. We don't get enough as it is to actually help us live properly. Oh yeah, I'm happy for my housing association doing this for us. It's been needing done since we moved into the fucking place 23 years ago. Hang on. Yeah, 23 years ago. It'll be 23 years this August or September, I believe. I'm sure we signed we were one of the last few council tenants. We signed on with Glasgow City Council before the transfer happened to Glasgow Housing Association, the umbrella one that just took all the properties, all the council properties. So me and Super Hubby were one of the last few people to get to be actual living, breathing council tenants. And now that we are in a city the size of Glasgow, 622,000 people live here in the Greater Glasgow area. There's 652 of us that still have council rents. Essentially, my next door neighbour in my actual flat down the road, her rent has went up from what I pay, 183. I think just under 183 a month. And my next door neighbour, I will not tell your name or anything, she pays 380. So she pays 200 more than us a month for exactly the same unfurnished flat. Laid out differently, obviously it's the other side of the close. But essentially the same flat. We're one of the last few people in Glasgow that pay council rents, the actual rate, the actual amount for the rent. Everyone else is on basically 400 a month, depending on the size of their flat or their house or something. There's very few of us left. And all of us, if I can get to meet these other 650 people, we need to campaign to keep our rents this exact same amount. See, if we were to get moved out of our flat, our rent would increase up to 420 now. So no, I was getting them to fix my flat, so I still stick with 183 a month for my rent. Thank God for that. We're Band A for our council tax, by the way, so the lowest amount of council tax. That is one of the hills I will die on, that and the NHS. Those are my two main campaigns to make sure people have affordable rent and that the NHS doesn't get fucked. And that's what I'll be campaigning on next year. Well, canvassing on, not campaigning. I'm not running. Christ, me as an MSP? I think that would fucking kill me.
You can't continue down this line of austerity by the back door and expect people to continue to have faith in the project, because at some point in the future, like I can't, if I'm drowning, if you're drowning and there's a lifeboat that comes by and says, well, I don't have a life jacket for you now, but there's a bigger ship coming. That'll be here in like 5 years. Just tread water there for a little bit. Can I get on the boat? No. I'll give you a life jacket when the bigger boat comes. If a turquoise coloured lifeboat comes along at some point and says,
my God, that is a really good analogy, actually. Yeah, you just tread water until something better happens. Hope is good. I like hope. But we can't live on hope. We can't eat hope. We can't power our households or our lives with hope. We need the change to happen fucking now. Rachel Reeves, if you can hear me. I feel like I'm screaming into the void sometimes. Fucking hell.
I'll give you 10 life jackets at some point. You say, okay, I'll go with that guy.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not an asylum seeker, probably wouldn't hand
So
you
long as you're not an asylum seeker, then the turquoise boat is just going to sail right on by. But you know what I mean? Like, you can't expect the public to just believe you forever.
Hold on.
Yeah, you need to have some sort of demonstrated track record, and 9 months is enough time to have done something to change people's material conditions.
Yeah.
I think, this isn't going to be the last time. And like, look, it was one of those things, wasn't it, before the local elections that was bandied about that this is going to be, the bigger news story is going to be the implosion of the Conservative Party from the high watermark of the 2021 locals, the complete domination of certain councils, and that is all to come this afternoon.
Yeah.
But at this moment in time, it doesn't look good for Labour either.
Yeah, I think just to pick up on what you were saying about...
We now know, beaten into fourth in some areas. Wake up, Keir. Wake up, Rachel. And seriously, tell McSweeney to piss off. Unfortunately, like I've said, you can't do it to McFadden because he actually has a constituency. Fucking hell. You don't need to keep him. You can change your policies. I'll say again, Rachel, if you can hear me. I am so glad I live up here in Scotland at times. I really am. I feel for all of yous down in England. I really do. Yeah, that's one of the major problems, isn't it? Oh God, no, she's captured. We've lost her. We've lost Angela. She's gone now, unfortunately. Do we want someone like Brown back? Fuck it, I would take 2 Jags back in a heartbeat. He was better than most of these bastards. Well, at least we've still got Jeremy and McDonnell and Trickett and Apsana and Zara. They're still in the House of Commons. At least that's something. Plus we've got Carla. I've kind of lost faith in Ramsay. Sorry, Ramsay. I love what Ellie and Carla are doing. They're doing good work down in Westminster. Thank fuck for those two. Plus, they're both engineers. We need people like them. Carla is a green engineer. Literally in the energy sector. For fuck's sake, listen to her. Yeah, that's... Do you know SK the Crusader? He actually suggests they bring in just a party leader, not have the co-leader situation happening. And if that were to happen, we've got the same up here for the Scottish Greens, but both of the co-leaders up here, they are so much better. Plus Ross Greer, oh, give me some of that lovely little ginger twink. He's amazing.
What policies have cut through and what haven't. Like you said, obviously they have things like the Renters' Rights Bill, Employment Rights Bill, which will eventually make material changes to people's circumstances. But right now, when I went to Runcorn and Helsby, it was before the PIP cuts, but it was after the winter fuel cuts. And that was all anyone was talking about. When I said, what do you think of the Labour government? It was, well, they've taken away my winter fuel payment. They weren't saying, oh, well, you know, they've started charging that on private schools. They weren't.
I do actually like that one, putting VAT on sending your kid to a private school. I do like that. That is good. I do appreciate that one. Just get rid of the two-child cap. It'd be so fucking easy. And it's not saving you that much. What the hell? And I feel like I'm a fucking broken record about this. Stop targeting disabled people. We struggle enough as it fucking is. I am so glad my benefit is moved up here now. Thank fuck for that. At least they're giving me a decent amount of money to live off so I can get more supports, have a better standard of living, eat better. Actually go out and enjoy myself when my health allows me to, of course, which is good. Ooh, blast from the past. My God, I would take Tommy Sheridan back in a heartbeat as well from the Scottish Socialists. I wonder what Tommy's up to these days, actually. We need more people like him. It was because of him that they got rid of warrant sales up here in Scotland. They're illegal. They don't happen in here. See all that stuff you see with bailiffs? Like the bailiffs coming and all those kind of programmes? That doesn't happen up here. Guess what changed that? I'll give you a clue. Malcolm Rifkind and her proposed it. And she implemented it up here first, on us Scots. We didn't riot or anything. Just whenever the bailiffs came in to try and do the warrant sales, we basically guarded the house, the property where the people were coming in to do this stuff, to basically sell off everything in the house to pay off the poll tax debt. And we wouldn't let them in. Victory, the neighbour I was telling you about, she was involved in that. She's a little bit older than me. I'm 46. Yeah, she's going to be 60 this year. And she was the one, she was outside guarding some of her friends' houses during the poll tax era. We didn't riot or anything, we just blocked the bailiffs from getting into the property. And it was because of that, after that happened, Tommy Sheridan, then a Labour MP, brought this forward and it got voted through by basically what was still like left-wing Labour back in the day. They were in opposition, obviously. I think it was... When did she bring that in? I can't remember when the poll tax got brought in. I was a wee lassie, obviously. Was that after 83 that she'd done that? Or was that after 87? Fuck it, let's check. Poll tax... Scotland.
It's right to acknowledge that Margaret Thatcher was one of the most formidable politicians of recent times.
Angus.
To her family, to her friends, to her colleagues, to her supporters, I extend the condolences of the Scottish National Party and Plaid Cymru. It'd be wrong, however, not to put on record our profound disagreement with her socially and economic divisive policies, which were particularly opposed in Scotland and Wales. We will never forget, we will never forgive the poll tax being imposed on Scots a year before the rest of the UK. No country should have such policies imposed on them when they were rejected at the ballot box, and the existence of the Scottish Parliament and the Welsh National Assembly follows this experience. Margaret Thatcher will be remembered for a long time in Scotland and Wales. She helped remind us that we have a national consensus that values society, values solidarity and values community. For that, at least, we can be grateful.
Thank you, Angus. Well said. A whole year before the rest of the country. Thanks, Maggie. That one thing she implemented first here to us changed the political landscape of Scotland. Thanks. You basically gave a boon to the SNP for that one. Thank you. Then we just came right through in the next, well, after she implemented it, so it was 87 that she done that to us. Thank you. I hope you're burning.
In 1989, the community charge, commonly known as the poll tax, was introduced by Margaret Thatcher's government. This was a flat-rate local government tax on every individual, so a cleaner living in one-bedroom flat would pay the same as a lord living in a stately home. Tony Woodley helped create Tottenham Against the Poll Tax, and here he describes how his local community, like so many others across the country, refused to pay the charge, battled the authorities, and by 1993 had defeated this hated policy.
We got window posters up saying I'm not paying my poll tax, which was amazing. You'd go around Haringey and there'd be 3 or 4 posters in windows in one street with people saying I'm not paying my poll tax. We'd get people to sign a pledge saying they're not paying, and we didn't do anything with that pledge. It was just as a way of, one, getting to talk to people.
Unfortunately,
and two, getting those people to see that a lot of other people were pledging that they weren't going to pay it and not. I think there's that thing about feeling isolated.
That's why people like me exist, to educate. Let everyone know the past in their own fucking country. Now trying to reach over to the Americans, far too many of them, and far too many of them knew what they were voted for when they voted for the Tangerine Bob Act, for fuck's sake, and trying to reach them even though they're getting fucking damaged by the policies this fucking idiot is implementing on their country. Plus, look at the fucking ghouls he's got in his cabinet. Fuck. At least I've got some lovely American comrades who are reaching out, trying to educate their local areas and stuff, which is good. I like that.
Isolated as well. If you know there's a lot of other people doing something, you don't feel as isolated and you feel more confident that you can do stuff. You know, there would be stunts that happened, there would be small demonstrations, and then in the ward group that I was in, you know, it was how we get everyone in that ward to know about the poll tax and feel confident that there's people, and just going and knocking on people's doors. And I think on that ward level and street level way, you can easier knock on people's doors because it's your neighbours. And in a way, meetings are happening when you're walking up and down the streets. And people had sort of phone tree networks on their street, and people had ways of, if the bailiffs come, people would be out on the street wondering what was going on. And at first, we were saying to people, go to the courts and clog up the courts. And in Haringey, they were taking 500 cases a day. So after a while, we sort of realised that the people that were going to court were the ones that the council realised were there, and they were the people that they were going after with liability orders and bailiffs. The 400 people that hadn't turned up, the council didn't know if they still lived there, if they were just not bothering turning up, so they were harder to know about. So they sort of targeted the people that had turned up. So fairly soon into the sort of clogging up the courts campaign, in Haringey anyway, we started doing leaflets and newsletters and posters just saying, don't turn up. If you don't turn up, they won't know if you're there. Which meant that they were taking 500, 600 cases a day and getting liability orders against people. But then they had to enforce those liability orders, and that was where bailiffs came in, and we started doing, there was loads of posters that we did about just ignore the bailiffs. You know, we looked into the legal situation and knew that bailiffs couldn't do anything other than turn up at your door, and you had to let them in for them to be able to come in and take your possessions. So we would just say to people, don't open your door. And that worked far better than clogging up the courts, because they had hundreds, probably thousands and thousands of liability orders against people not paying in Haringey and the rest of the country. But they still could not get that money, because people were saying, yeah, I've been to court. Yes, you've got a liability order. Oh, I haven't been to court. You've got a liability order against me. The court said I've got to pay. I'm still not paying. If people heard a bailiff was coming, people would bang dustbin lids on the floor. We tried it with whistles in our street, but there was definitely cases where if a bailiff was getting angry on a doorstep, if someone had opened a door, neighbours would go down go down someone's garden path and start having a go at bailiffs, and that happened quite a lot in Haringey. So it was incredibly difficult for whatever ways they had of trying to collect it. People were just refusing to do it. People would be scared of the courts. People are scared of bailiffs because the system threatens us with those. But so many people went through it that people just lost that fear. People didn't worry that they were getting a court summons. People didn't worry that a bailiff was knocking on the door, because they knew it was happening to thousands and millions of other people. Groups all around the country were doing similar things, and I talk about cities, but it was little villages, and I know it's a derogatory term, but that whole Blue Rinse brigade of middle class women in suburbia had as much effect with their poll tax groups as we probably did in London as well. So it was just huge amounts of different people, and people, we didn't have email in those days, so people were just phoning each other or visiting each other, or we all sent each other our leaflets and posters so that people could pinch things from each other's groups and see where they were going. Before the main demonstration in Trafalgar Square, which left from Kennington, I was one of the people arguing that we shouldn't put too much time into it because we should be organising locally. And in the end, we decided that we would put time into it, and we would advertise it as well as we could and get as many people going down there. And I accept I was wrong, because for all we were doing locally, to get off at Kennington Tube and just see hundreds of thousands of people there together from all different parts of the country, from people who were, more libertarian and direct action, to people who just wanted to write petitions and lobby their councillors. Everyone was there. So for me, that part of the demonstration was more important than the riot. With or without the riot, I think people would have carried on doing what they were doing, because they'd see, just seeing that number of people together and realising other people were doing it gave a lot of us, inspiration to carry on. The riot was just, I suppose you could call it like icing on the top of the cake. It probably scared the authorities, but I think the level of non-payment was probably scaring the government more. They can deal with riots. X million people refusing to pay a debt and causing councils incredible problems, and Tory councils as well as Labour councils. I think that causes more of a threat than a few people chucking a few bottles, although I'm not putting down a few people chucking a few bottles.
that also brings me to another thing that was major in The Crown. It kind of looked like Thatcher was loved by everyone for a very long time, and then suddenly her awful ministers turned on her and brought her down. And I think this whole discussion kind of proved that it was not the case. And I was wondering if you can tell us what actually brought Thatcher down.
Well, 1987.
Correct, Reza. Well said. Thank you.
Saw Thatcher's election victory, which was her third election victory. And many people, as you can imagine, particularly the tops of our movement, were demoralised, a bit like when Boris Johnson won the general election this time round. But the militant analysis was that there is a burning resentment and anger underneath the surface as a result of the poverty measures that the Tories had forced through. Thatcher overestimated her position because she judged the mood of the working class by its leadership, and Kinnock by this stage was beginning to roll back the socialist offensive that we'd had inside the Labour Party. As a consequence of that, she introduced the hated poll tax, or community charge as it was called. And instead of the valuation of a house being based upon the value of the house itself and what you paid in rates, they decided to levy a tax on every individual in every household, and exactly the same amount, irrespective of the value of the household. And that meant immediately at a stroke, working class.
Rejoice, comrades. Sozzled Snake has arrived. Hi, Sozzled. Nice to see you, comrade. How you doing? Hope fiery yellow orb isn't making your life a misery like it is to me. I really don't do well under the sun. I burn like a bitch, as you can tell. Look how fucking pale I am. So I've been sheltering in my flat, staying away from fiery yellow orb. I had to go out on Tuesday. I had the CT scan in the morning, in the early morning, at 9 o'clock. Then at 11:30, I had to go and get another feminine check done for me. I think you can all guess what it is. So I had that at 11:30. So I had my CT on Tuesday morning. Then that one done at 11:30. I'm safe, hopefully, for the next 5 years. I won't need to worry about getting one of them again, at least for 5 years. My thoughts? Not great as well. God damn it. That man frog's ego is going to be too fucking massive for the House of Commons. He managed to make it down to the vote. Or up to the vote. Well, technically, he still lives in London. Like the bastard he is. I wonder if he's visited Clacton recently. That's what he should be doing. Holding regular surgeries. So his constituents can go and talk to him and say, why aren't you implementing this? Move the Labour Party, blah, 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 and all other bollocks. They got mayors as well and entire fucking councils. Fucking hell. Who was it? Someone said earlier on. Oh, it was James O'Brien when I was over in Helena's stream. That was 25% of England. So it wasn't all of them. And the one that I'd be most curious about is where Kev is. But they're not going to be having theirs until 27. It's another 2 years, I think, before Birmingham has a council election. It's another couple of years before we get that one. That's the next biggest metropolitan area, obviously. So you've got London, Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool. Major metropolitan areas. And for fuck's sake, Runcorn and Helsby, why? Why do this? Why? Ghost election of Clacton on Sea. I have never been down to Clacton. If any of you lovely comrades can tell me what Clacton's like, that'd be cool. I like to know about all our little different areas in UK, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, well, Ireland, if anyone can hear me. I have been to Newcastle, Reza. I quite like Newcastle. I've been to Liverpool. Liverpool is awesome. I need to get back down there. Haven't been to London yet. I am the only family member, at least my sisters, my mum and my stepdad and my niece, and both my nephews. I have never been down to London yet. Keeping the taint away from me. Sorry, I know parts of London are fucking awesome and are filled with lovely comrades who I speak to. More than likely, Sozzled. More than likely. There is enough of
Class
them.
families, particularly large working class families, would be faced with impossible poll tax bills. And the militant
Correct.
devised a strategy,
Mike.
very bold in its execution, I have to say, of mass non-payment, particularly given the position of the trade union movement. We had to go into working class communities, round the estates, and build up anti-poll tax unions. First in Scotland, where Thatcher decided to use that country as an experiment. She introduced the poll tax in there first, and then the following year in England and Wales. And what shocked the entire movement was the emergence of the poll tax non-payment figures. In Scotland, 1 in 4 people weren't paying the poll tax, despite the threat of arrest, bailiffs and imprisonment. And
One of those 1 in 4 included my lovely mother. She essentially said, fuck off. She didn't pay it. Good for her. I love my mum. She's amazing. And if I was old enough and I had a flat or a house back then, I would have said fuck off as well. It's literally a poll tax. It's a tax for people who vote. So it's a tax on each of our heads. We are not your little we're not your little proles. We're not your little slaves. She used us as guinea pigs over and over again. Why do you think we don't vote Tory anymore? We despised the woman. Despised her. Oh my god, I have to find it. Frankie is fucking awesome. It's there.
3 million.
3 million.
For 3 million, they could give everyone in Scotland a shovel, and we would dig a hole so deep that we could hand it over to Satan personally.
Well said, Frankie. Well said. Bring it, Reza. That is very funny, Sozzled. Thank you. I need this kind of levity to get over the fact that Reform got so many fucking gains in council elections last night and today. Well, yesterday and Thursday. Boo. Did you see the majority that, shit, I've forgotten her first name, Poachin. A majority of 6. And I repeat, 6. 6, man, 6. That is one of the weakest fucking majorities I've heard of. Don't get me wrong, one of the SNP MPs had a majority of 1, and I repeat, 1. By a fucking whisker, Christ's sake. It was called the community charge. It was basically a tax on each person in the household. So it's basically a tax levied on each person within the household, whether they're working or not, on every member of the household. Be it a household with just one person living in it, or a family who have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. It was a tax on each of our heads that if you didn't pay, the bailiffs came in, warrant sealed everything, basically put a little sticker on whatever you had, except the basics. They have to leave the cooker and they have to leave the fridge. But everything else, you have the basics for living. No telly, no video, no any electronics, even your sofas, your furniture and everything. Little price sticker in. People came in and they bid on the things in the house. We weren't taking any of that fucking bollocks. I'll assure you of that. So, great swathes of Scotland, we basically said, fuck off, we ain't paying it. And the community around the households where we found out there was going to be a warrant sale, we basically just guarded the entrance to the house, or the flat, or the high-rise, or wherever. We didn't let the bailiffs come in and do these fucking warrant sales. And now they're illegal. They're not allowed to happen up here in Scotland, but technically they're still legal in England, but they don't get done because of such the negative reception that happened up here and over all the poll tax rebellions and stuff in England in the late 80s. So it's basically a tax on each person in the house. So no, we said fuck off with that nonsense. Not having it. I think it was one of the things that actually brought her down, and we ended up having Major in 92 when she stepped down. And we said, ha, thank God, fuck off, you fucking witch. Grenna is a bulwark. And if they creep any further, they're going to have a fucking major battle for Glasgow. Trust me on that one, in parts of Ayrshire. We won't stand for that fucking nonsense. Fed up of it. Been living through it for 45 fucking years. Not having it. Hell mange if you piss off us Scots, we'll let you know how we actually feel. And most of us do on a daily basis, actually. Like me. Here to educate. And fire righteous anger at anyone trying to implement policies that we don't fucking agree with. People like him. Is that Owen? Oh, come on.
Labour just got absolutely battered.
And I do hereby declare that Sarah Joanne Pochin is duly elected as a Member of Parliament for the Runcorn and Helsby constituency.
This is the Runcorn and Helsby by-election where Nigel Farage's Reform UK just triumphed. Now you might say, well, saying Labour got absolutely battered is a little bit extreme. After all, Reform only won by 6 votes as the closest by-election result, one of them in history certainly, which is very much the line.
Lack of empathy, lack of caring or giving a shit. Basically sozzled. I've lived through those policies all my life. Can't be arsed anymore. Fucking pissed off. I'm here to campaign for better policies, better parties. Can't be arsed. Seriously, not doing it. Trying to live through this timeline, this hellscape of a country now? Fucking hell. No. We're going to campaign you at every fucking turn, Labour. Obviously, I'll still be campaigning against the Tories, obviously, even though they've been fucking brutalised. But they still exist, unfortunately. There's still 121 of them in the House of Commons. Still need to be dealt with, obviously. Plus the 5 Reform and the 1 lonely independent who's been booted by Nigel. Oh, Rupert. You brought this on yourself, really. Hell mange you.
Being pushed by Labour, but this Labour-held constituency was the 16th safest seat in Britain. In the general election, Labour won a majority of over 14,500 over Reform UK, and they got nearly 53% of the vote, while Reform only secured 18%. And bear in mind, that was after Labour won the election across the country with just over a third of the vote, winning 2/3 of the seats because of our weird and wacky electoral system. And also bear in mind that this was on the...
Ding, 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 ding. Well said, Owen. First past the post is utter fucking garbage. I want proportional representation. If you can hear me, thank you. Seriously, first past the post sucks.
Lowest turnout in British democratic history. So if that's the result they were getting when Labour was only getting 33.7% of the vote, then what happens when that support has imploded, as we see in this seat? Well, based on that swing, Labour would lose about 250 of its 411 seats. That's the seats they won in the 2024 election. Why, less than a year after turfing the Tories out of power, is Labour in meltdown? Really very straightforward, actually. The soulless hacks who took over the Labour Party have one skill, and one skill alone, and that is destroying. They proved adept at crushing the left, that is, those in Labour who support things like taxing the well-off to invest in our crumbling country, public ownership of utilities and services instead of them being cash cows for private profiteers, not saddling young people with debt because they dare to dream to a university education we all benefit from as a society, things like tackling poverty, having a just foreign policy rather...
Thank God I've got my degree now. Might have been 20 years after I actually started going to uni. I'm glad I've got it now, thank fuck. So I can actually educate people. Obviously my primary concern is about virology and parasitology, so viruses, pandemics, things like that, disability, health issues. But obviously I have to dip into the politics to actually get behind all this, what's happening essentially, especially here in the UK. Glasgow locally, Scotland wide, then UK wide. Then I hit on America sometimes if I feel like going and looking into that hellscape. Giving reassurances to my American comrades. Organise. Educate, agitate. It's that order for a reason. So educate people. Always good.
Than, I don't know, arming a genocide. But the teeny tiny little problem is they didn't actually have a vision as an alternative. Destroying, tearing down, they can do that all right. Building something else, even a basic idea of what sort of country they'd like to create, there is nothing there. The cupboard is empty, which is why, amongst other things, we've ended up with a Labour government which has variously declared war on pensioners, children and disabled people. Yes, really taking a fight to the people who need to be fought there. Before we talk more about this, let's listen to the very triumphant Nigel Farage.
Well, I would just say to him very simply that people who put trust in you, that is eroded, albeit almost eradicated in a very short space of time. It'd be nice to know who he really is, wouldn't it? What does he actually believe in? It seems that whatever Neil Sweeney writes from he reads out, there's no conviction in this Labour Party. But crucially, the things that switched a lot of old Labour voters to us in this constituency, number one, working people. They have alarms, they go off in the morning, they cross the bridge and work in Merseyside. Mostly, the taxes they pay are going up, and they wonder why they're doing it. Secondly, a feeling that somehow Labour is not a patriotic party. And thirdly, there are...
And you're going to do better, Nigel? Are you? I don't believe you are. Because you, at your core, in your soul, you're a fucking Thatcherite. And great swathes of this country do not vote for Thatcher policies. They don't vote for Tory... Well, obviously they got destroyed last year in the general election. They're down to 121. They got massacred in the general election, which they deserved it. They brought ruin to this country. And we don't vote for those policies. You're going to find that out soon when you try to implement cuts at your local councils that have got overall control in the councils that you've won. You can't do the cuts that you want to do on a local level. You've got a commitment to do those policies. You've got a commitment to pay those things to do this. So you can't go taking a dirty great big cleaver and cutting local council spending and funding for things. Can't do it. Just see how quickly the people in the constituencies in the local council areas will revolt against you for doing that. It ain't going to fucking work, Nigel.
Are 750.
At least I hope.
The young man, he crossed the English Channel, living in this constituency at the expense of hard-working taxpayers,
Yes,
causing
Reza.
great alarm on many streets.
If you can escape.
Dover may be a long way away. Its influence on this by-election is not.
Well, it's clear that Farage there is exploiting the obvious fact that Keir Starmer doesn't actually stand for anything, that he wanted to become Prime Minister for its own sake, and indeed what he did is make a pact with the most obnoxious elements of the Labour Party, where they do all the politics and he'd be the front man who could be terribly important and jet around the world trying to look like a statesman. Indeed, those dead behind the eyes hacks who run the Labour Party briefed 2 times journalists for their book a few months ago that Keir Starmer thought he was driving the train, but in fact they'd sat him at the...
Rejoice, comrade, a lovely Birmingham resident. Hello, Miss Hire. Hello, darling. Welcome in. We're covering the local elections and the council elections. At least you've been spared. Is your council elections in 2 years or next year? I can't remember. I'm sure Kev said, but I can't remember. I know you were involved in the local elections last night. Sozzled, you legend. Thank you. Give me my sounds. Finally got them fixed. Thank you, Sozzled. Miss Hire is based. We love Miss Hire. Hello, darling. Oh, great time to use my emote. I try to watch it on Raptor stream. I can't do it. Ethan is just pissing me off too fucking much. And I was losing my rag. I felt like yelling, literally just keeping caps locks on and yelling at Ethan to see if I can actually reach the fucking Egypt. I think he's been on saving now, actually, come to think of it. Between him and his wife Ela. Bye, Ethan. I did used to follow him fucking years ago now. Good few years ago, actually, come to think of it. So no, Ethan's lost. Well, he's been lost for a while. So no, I couldn't do it. Getting too angry. Well done, Raptor, for actually showing that debate. The bits that I did watch, I thought Hassan actually done quite well, but Ethan wasn't taking it in. He is lost.
Front of the driverless Docklands Light Railway. Farage knows that the voters have sussed this out about Starmer, and so he's going in hard on the fact he doesn't have principles or beliefs. What Farage then goes on to do, of course, is direct people's very justifiable anger at the state of this country to migrants, to people from other countries. The surge in people, of course, arriving on the channel in small boats has everything to do with our rulers deciding to scrap safe and legal routes. If that isn't solved, then they will just keep on coming, whatever the rhetoric of any of these politicians. But in any case, let's listen to Professor John Curtis, Britain's preeminent polling expert.
The big question that we were looking to these local elections, together with the parliamentary by-election and the mayoral contest, to answer is the message of the opinion polls that reform seemingly pose a significant threat to the traditional dominance of Conservative and Labour of our electoral politics. Is that message of the polls correct? And it already seems to be clear that the answer to that question is yes. Winning the by-election in itself was a very substantial success reform, narrow as it was. UKIP never ever managed to win a parliamentary by-election afresh when it was fighting. And so to that extent, we have now broken new ground in terms of parliamentary by-elections. But it's what happened underneath the by-elections that, in a sense, is really notable. Yes, Reform did narrowly miss out on those three moralities. But if I tell you that that we've got 124 wards that have been declared basically across 4 councils, Reform are clearly ahead on 38% of the vote, the Conservatives with 28%, and Labour with 18%. Now, these are...
Oof. This coming after the country basically said, well, obviously 121 constituencies still voted for them. But they got fucking decimated last year. And Reform think the same policy. Basically, I believe, not that they actually promote them or say them often enough, obviously, but we know who most of these people are, what their policies are, what they want to implement. I'm pretty sure if they actually done a proper policy platform for the next general election in 2029, I would hope that most of UK, at least I'm safe up here in Scotland, we don't vote for policies like this anymore. We haven't done it for over 60 years now, the best part of 70 actually, come to think of it. We don't vote for these kind of policies. That's what Labour are implementing right now. We absolutely trounced the Tories in certain areas. We basically wiped them out. Well, Labour wiped them out. I would hope that other areas, other major metropolitan areas in England, especially the main urban centres like Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, London. It's going to be fun next year with London. They'll be having their elections at the same time as the Senate and Holyrood up here next year, in May next year. That'll be fun to see. London's a whole different beast. I hope that they don't actually vote for any reform for the council, the major metropolitan council for London. And we'd hope, hopefully Birmingham won't. Obviously, areas just outside Birmingham they might get a couple of those when they have their election. Either. Is it next year? I thought it was 27. I thought it was in 2 years' time. Thanks, Miss Hire. Very kind. Are you looking forward to it? I would urge you to go out and canvass if you like. Obviously, no pressure or anything. I'll be going out canvassing for the Scottish Greens for Holyrood next year. I've already put my name up for it. And that's going to be fun. Don't get me wrong, I love some of the policies of the SNP. I really approve of them. They're really good. They're good for Scotland, good for what I want, for the local area and everything like that. But they could be stronger on green policies and on the NHS, essentially. Ours is still the best performing NHS in the UK, compared to what's happening in England, what's happening in Wales. I don't know too much about Northern Ireland. I keep on meaning to speak to friends and kind of family members who live in Northern Ireland and talk to them about it, see what they would want. But I know we won't vote for the kind of policies that Manfrog and all his ilk and the scum, obviously we don't vote for them, except maybe Aberdeen and the border areas. Nah. But hopefully if we campaign properly, we can get either SNP or more Green MSPs next year, which will be good. I will approve. That will be great to actually see that happen. The fact that Reform are actually gaining in popularity is deeply frightening to me. Deeply frightening. I don't want them in power. And super happy that the absolute contrarian that he is thinks that Farage has a chance of becoming PM in 2029. And I keep on telling him to shut the fuck up. There will be areas across the UK that will not vote for Reform. We know this. Some of them will still vote Tory, I believe. Some people can't be saved, obviously. But hopefully if we build enough a big coalition, we can wipe out all these horrible parties and bring in proper policy to help the country move forward and get back to a better standard of living, or raise it, even just a little bit. Obviously, I want it raised fully up to make sure no one is everyone is covered. The social safety net basically becomes a fucking floor, not a net, an actual fucking concrete floor that no one goes below.
Very heavily in pro-Leave, traditionally Tory areas, so they're not necessarily representative. But even so, what was once true blue, parts of true blue England, now rather look like true turquoise England.
Well, it's very clear that Farage becoming Prime Minister is
Correct,
eminently
Mr. Iron
plausible,
Razor.
all because of Labour's catastrophic inability to offer solutions to a country devastated by stagnating and falling living standards, public services ravaged by cuts, austerity, underinvestment, and all the other injustices of a broken economic system. Now, as Henry Zeffman, the chief political correspondent of the BBC, reports, one Labour campaigner in Runcorn and Helsby said, on every door it was the same story: winter fuel and PIP. PIP is the personal independence payment. It's the support given to disabled people and those with serious health conditions in order to support them so they can live independent lives, which Labour has decided to confiscate from so many, leading to a predicted surge in poverty of 400,000 people under a Labour government. Strikingly, Labour's
Praise be the SNP. I am so glad my benefit's up here now, because if I was still getting PIP, I'd still be on below poverty amounts of my benefit. I want to be able to live a decent standard of life, be able to support myself, get all the stuff that I need to support myself, better walking stick, supports for all my joints, especially my wrist where I try to write. Christ, if any of you see my writing, Christ's sake. Years of arthritis and joint problems. I need the support, I need this money to live a better standard of life. But no. Everyone south of the border are getting brutalised by their PIP getting fucking brutalised by Liz Kendall and Rachel Reeves. Boo.
and support is being overwhelmingly driven by the party attacking the welfare state, attacking state support for people who desperately need it.
Correct, Mr.
Bear in mind,
Messiah.
they
Correct.
also
Yes.
are keeping and have voted to keep the Tories' two-child benefit cap, which drives hundreds of thousands of kids into poverty. They even booted out 7 Labour MPs who voted to get rid of it. Is that what people expect from a Labour government?
I can't remember, obviously Jeremy, John MacDonald, Apsana Begum, Zara Sultana, Trickett? Was Trickett booted as well? I can't remember. I'm sure Trickett was booted. Can't remember who else. Oh, Bergen as well, Richard Bergen.
Deliberately driving elderly people, disabled people, and children into hardship and into squalor. Now, Ros Jones narrowly held the Doncaster mayoralty for Labour, but she had a message. She said, I wrote as soon as the winter fuel allowance was actually mooted, and I said it was wrong.
Correct, Ms.
And
Mayor,
therefore
well
stepped
said.
in immediately and
Thank
used
you.
our household support fund to ensure no one in Doncaster went
You're
cold
one
during the
decent
winter. I
individual.
think the
Thank
result here tonight will demonstrate that they need to be listening to the man, woman, and businesses in the street and actually deliver for the people with the people. So is there any sense? Is there any sense of contrition from our rulers? Any sense of a change in course? Let's listen to our Prime Minister, who is currently a bit less popular than the bubonic plague.
I could stand here and say Runcorn was close. We successfully defended 3 mayoralties, and the opposition parties tend to do well in these sorts of elections. But I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is to respond by saying, I get it. We were elected in to deliver change. We started that change. Waiting lists are down. Wages are up, interest rates are down, huge, massive difference for people who are mortgage holders. But
Keir, my dear Prime Minister, lots of people here in the UK are not mortgage holders, they are rent payers. We pay rent. We don't have a mortgage, we have no hope. Some of us have no hope of getting a mortgage, because some of us are disabled, and some of us are carers for disabled people. Some of us are retired, and we still live in our council houses or housing association housing. We can't afford to get a mortgage. We can't get on the property ladder like the rest of yous. Thank you. You need to make the renters reform. You need to implement that. You need to speak to your Chancellor, if she'll listen to you, or to your puppet master, who should be fucking booted. And if you can speak to that haunted ghoul of a man who grew up here in Scotland, here in Glasgow, we do not like these policies. You're brutalising the poorest in this society. And we're fucking fed up. Stop targeting us. We barely have a standard of living at this point now, thank you.
The message I take out of these elections is that we need to go further and we need to go faster on the change that people want to see, and that's what I'm determined to do.
Further and farther in the same direction, though, because your own Doncaster mayor says that actually you haven't been listening to people. She brings up specifically issues of the winter fuel allowance, kit, changes to national insurance for businesses as issues that have come up on the doorstep. She says you need to listen and you haven't been. She's right.
Look.
Yeah, that's a great one, being able to piss off millionaires on the poorest in society. That's a neat trick. Well done. I only thought the Tories could fucking do that sort of nonsense. You're doing amazingly, aren't you? You deserve this fucking booting. Great swaths of this country don't like your fucking policies. Son and SK the Crusader was saying early on, I agree more with Helen on this. I think it might be Bridget Phillipson that they bring in if Keir ever has to basically piss off. But SK thinks it's going to be Wes. If that fucking happens, just fucking end me. Christ's sake. Can you imagine it? Wes Streeting as fucking Prime Minister. I seriously hope that doesn't happen. I really don't. I don't know what would be worse. Manfrog or Wes as Prime Minister. Fuck. I would basically tell him to piss off from Pride, and Manfrog can crawl back under what rock he fucking emerged from back in the 80s. Thank you. Rant over.
The Doncaster Mayor Ros is extremely good. She's done a great job as Mayor. I'm really pleased to see her re-elected as Mayor because of the decisions that we made at the budget, which were tough decisions, but the right decisions. We've been able to stabilise the economy, commit to the triple...
Self-imposed fiscal rules are ruining this fucking country. Thank you. Tough decisions. My fucking arse. You're not saving much, and you're brutalising the poorest in this fucking country. So no. Not having it. Fuck off.
A lot. So that means this month that, pensions have gone up, state pensions, £470. We probably need to make more of that, say more about that. But in terms of the challenge, yes.
Emmy Lou Darling. Hello. Hello, darling. Welcome in. I am fine, thank you. Fiery yellow orb is fucked off. I don't do well with the sun. I burn too easily. And I do kind of sweat quite badly, and I hate it. Feeling all sticky and horrible. Trying to hide from the fiery yellow bastard in the sky. Thank you. Welcome in. I'm a Scottish disabled Marxist. I try to talk about health issues. I've got a degree in virology and parasitology. I try to educate people about viruses, pandemics, health and disability issues, mostly. But there was local council elections down in England. Was it 6 mayoralties? Wasn't it? Only 500 fucking votes. Grrr. If he survives until then, I think he might actually get booted. I feel for Leanne Mohammed. I really do. I really want to get voted in. But no. Ilford North? Miss Hire, my darling, was it Ilford North or Ilford South? I can't remember what one it is. I know it's one of them. I know he's just outside London. That's where his seat is. Ilford North? Yeah, it's all they keep on banging on about. Fuck off. They're self-imposed. You don't need to fucking do them. Will they listen? Will they? Hell, they purged the left from the party, obviously. Because we're the lunatics, we're the fringe, apparently. We're going to prove you wrong in 2029 here, by the way. That's why I'm here to educate.
I could say these are elections where opposition parties do well, governments always struggle. I think it's better for me to say, look.
Yeah, that turnout was fucking disgraceful. My seat, unfortunately, still remains the lowest in electoral history. Check out Glasgow North East. Or if you want it more easier, look up for the MP in William Bain. William, obviously easy name, B-A-I-N. Lowest turnout recorded in electoral history in the UK. Fucking depressing. If it's anything below 75%, I'm fucking pissed off. Ideally, I'd want to bring in what Australia has. You have to vote. And it's proportional representation. Thank you. Rant over. Yeah, Christ's sake. It was something ridiculous up here for my seat. Back when Willie Bain was our MP. He got booted though. We voted in Anne McLaughlin, and she actually was doing some good stuff for our constituency when she was our MP. I'm glad we got rid of Willie Bain. He used to live within walking distance of my flat before he became an MP.
I get it. We have promised change. We're delivering that change, but we do need to go further. We do need to go faster. Thank you.
I love how he says he's not going to say a load of excuses, which he's just shoehorned in. I could say this, and this, but I'm not going to. Anyway, he says Labour needs to double down on its disastrous course, going further and faster in the direction that voters clearly despise. Or listen to this. This is absolute solid gold, honestly. Brace yourself. Lee Harpin is a journalist who consistently spins for Starmer in a really crude tribute act to Comical Ali. Remember him? And part of me just thinks Labour HQ should just put him out of his misery and give him a job. Anyway, he tweeted the following. Labour source. Some of the new intake need to learn what it's like to be in the trenches, taking time off, not campaigning because it's recess. Maybe some of them would be better off in private sector jobs. This is absolutely hilarious. Labour
What now? If they're not going to be campaigning, maybe we should. That might help. You never know. Working under first past the post is a fickle bitch, as has been proven many times before in the past. That's why we need to educate and organise to see if we can get these bastards out of power. Mark my words, before I croak it, I will see this happen in my lifetime. I want it. And there's nothing worse than a committed Scottish woman. We get our way eventually, trust me on this. I've seen it happen in my own fucking family, especially where I'm concerned. So hell mind you, if I start canvassing, which I will be next year, bring it on.
stitched up parliamentary selections to parachute in their chosen goons, to be their loyal voting fodder. They crushed the left, claiming it was about quality control. A Labour source was once quoted saying, "This isn't factional, we just aren't insulting voters with piss-poor candidates anymore." And now they're briefing that their own stooges, who they parachuted in, are crap. That is funny. Gotta hand it to them. According to the Financial Times, Morgan McSweeney, Starmer's chief of staff, will pore over the results today and is likely to conclude that he is right to pursue a blue Labour strategy to address the populist threat, a policy which is already starting to be deployed. That is absolutely hilarious. The man who's the head of strategy of the Labour Party, who has clearly catastrophically crashed the party with his strategy. The strategy of the Labour Party is obviously a failure. And he's looked at the consequences of that disastrous strategy and gone, actually, I'm just going to double down on the strategy. Turns out, me having crashed the Labour Party shows I'm right. Now, some of you might understandably ask, what is Blue Labour? Now, in theory, it's supposed to be about fusing social conservatism with left-wing economics, but there is new left-wing economics here. So it's just social conservatism combined with clobbering pensioners, disabled people, and children. Basically, it's as well as kicking pensioners and disabled people and children, let's kick migrants and refugees as well. And hopefully, that will distract people. You know, people just get angry at them instead. This Blue Labour strategy is the same strategy Morgan McSweeney has already had. And it's gone down like a bucket of sick.
Sozzled on current polling, which happened about a month ago now. It's a month out of date. But that's the one I'm currently relying on. Obviously, the polls will change. They'll do another poll later on in the year, probably in a summerish, August or September. They'll probably do another poll up here. It's looking like a couple of the Western Isles will still be Lib Dem. Hopefully SNP will regain the majority, like the central belt, like Glasgow through to Edinburgh, parts of north and south, just basically in my general area. Perth are solid SNP. Aberdeen's the one that keeps on bringing us down, unfortunately. There is a danger. There is a danger. I will reach out to my uncle. He was Labour. He is now SNP. Thank you, Uncle. Good man. Because he can't be arsed with all this. Because he's got friends and family members up there. Friends. Most of my family are from Perth. Me and my middle sister, we live here in Glasgow. But most of my family still live in Perth. And we're absolutely despising these policies. We hate them. We are more community-based. We want to see everyone thrive. We look after each other up here. And most of these policies are brutalising us, but the community is coalescing around each other, helping family members, helping friends, whenever they can, if they can afford to, obviously. We're more community-based. We're more for, like clan system, essentially. We're very much community-based. We want everyone to thrive. We want everyone to have a basic standard of living. And Labour aren't doing that. And we told everyone who voted for Labour, they're not going to do this. And I showed them all the videos from like Greaves and Kendall and Streeting when they were in opposition. And said, no, they're going to do better. They've changed now. They're going to be great for us. No, they're not. Trust me on this. They won't fucking do it. Will they heed me? Will they listen to me? Will they fuck? And we voted for the great swathes of the Central Belt, voted for Labour, and look what they're doing to us. At least we've got the SNP as a safety net up here. Thank fuck for that. I want everyone down in England and Wales, Northern Ireland, or across Northern Ireland, to do better, to be looked after, to have a better standard of living. And Labour aren't giving us that. And I fucking told everyone that, including my sisters. At least I managed to get my younger sister. Thank fuck for that one. Couldn't get my brother-in-law. My sister's partner. I will get him, don't you worry. We can't trust them. Look what they're doing. I've got friends and family members who live down in England, and they're fucking despising this bollocks. They're more likely to vote Green. Some of them are saying they might vote Lib Dem and say, don't fucking trust those bastards either. Vote for Green, or if you've got a decent independent, vote for them. Do not vote Labour, do not vote the scum, and definitely don't give that fucking man any ego boost by voting for Reform. We can't fucking handle it. We don't want that man anywhere near the keys, the levers of power. We don't want this, UK. Do not vote for Manfrog. I beg of you. If you do that and impose that fucking stain of a human on us, we're just as likely to rebel. Trust me, I can see it fucking happening. We're already pissed off with Labour and what they're doing. And if we go to Reform or the scum again, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not. I'll get louder and louder and start screeching at people. And I don't want to do that. My throat is fucking fragile enough as it is.
Labour are just going to conclude they need to bash migrants more, but this strategy has been deployed over and over again in Britain and Europe with disastrous results. Labour and the Tories tried doing this in the 2010s and they...
My lovely darling, you don't need to worry about it, Alba. Some areas kind of like them, but since their godhead has since departed us, shuffled off this mortal coil, don't get me wrong, he did get some policies correct in his political career. But on the whole, Alex Salmond was basically a detriment to us. Nicola done a little bit better. I'm hoping big for Swinney. Don't get me wrong, I've actually got family members, actual blood relatives, who live in Swinney's constituency for Holyrood, and I'm reaching out to them. Don't you worry about that one. I can reach lots of people who vote many different ways. No Tories, obviously. Labour, possibly Lib Dem and SNP. None of them will vote for reform, trust me on that. They hate the man as much as I do. It is complicated, Sozzled. It is. I did like his idea when he was speaking to Aaron Bastani on Downstream. A couple of years ago now? Maybe 2 or 3? 2 maybe? That he wanted to implement better nationwide policies. And then I can understand why you wanted to do that. Then if we still wanted more, he would have hopefully have given us another vote. I feel for Northern Ireland, I really do. They only get one chance at this. We don't. We can get another one if we want it, because of the way the Constitution got set up back in the 17th century, 18th century. 1700s? Yeah, the 18th century. The way the settlement was arranged, we can do this anytime we want. Northern Ireland can't. They get one chance at their poll, and that's it. And if they vote to stay part of the UK, they won't get another one. So they have to pick their time correctly. Hopefully that time is coming soon. I can see it happening. There's parts of Northern Ireland who are fed up, who want to rejoin, and don't get me wrong, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are fucking shite as well. We need Kath. We need Kath here to actually explain the feeling on the ground. Next time I see her, I'll actually ask her. That would be good to get her feel of what's actually happening on the ground over in Ireland. Be good to know, so I can talk about it more. Plus I've got friends in Northern Ireland. Yes, victory, thank fuck for that. I'm worried about the TUV. They're even more batshit crazy than the DUP, and that's saying something, fucking hell. Same here, Reza. There's big enough voices now, there's more voices. Not like Jerry Adams or anything like that, but there are voices, there's lots of voices saying that they want to have this poll, but they have to pick their time correctly. They might need to wait until the next general election, I believe. But something might happen, you never know. Really screwed up timeline. Anything can happen. Correct. Bring it on. I still want to have friends in England and Wales, Northern Ireland or Ireland. I still want that. I want to be able to communicate with everyone across this great island of ours. Just because we're independent doesn't mean we're not going to fucking talk to you anymore. Trust me on that. We still want to talk to you. As much as I'd love to see that happen, Reza. Bit doubtful. Don't get me wrong, like I say, really screwed up timeline, anything can happen. And people like me will be campaigning for things that we actually want, that we need. Desperately fucking need.
drove the rise of Farage and Brexit. While in countries across Europe, mainstream politicians in France, Germany, Austria, you name it, thought they could diffuse the radical right by raiding their rhetoric and policies on immigration. But all they did is shift the political conversation onto exactly the terms the hardcore right wanted. It legitimised them and their arguments. What we need instead is an alternative vision that inspires people, that offers actual solutions to people's problems, not least by forcing the well-off to contribute more so we can invest in people, in communities, services and infrastructure. That's how we deal with the understandable disillusionment and anger which Farage and his crew are feeding off by actually trying to improve people's living standards. The truth is, Keir Starmer is one of the great political frauds of our age. He won the Labour leadership after lying. His whole campaign team lied through their teeth, pretending he was Jeremy Corbyn's buddy and that he was going to keep the radical domestic policies like taxing the rich, public ownership, scrapping tuition fees. He then crushed his internal opponents and ensured the Parliamentary Labour Party was full of careerist drones who would do as they are told. He was handed the general election on a plate, thanks to the Tories essentially dousing themselves in petrol and setting themselves on fire, and even then only won a third of the vote. And when in power, rather than actually trying to fix the country, that crew decided, let's give a beating to pensioners, children, disabled people, among other things. Meanwhile, him and his cronies were being showered by free...
Well said, Reza. Correct. Yes. I knew I loved you. Thank you so much. That's why we need to educate everyone, Sozzled. Correct, Miss Hire, yes. 5? 6? It's either 5 or 6, I can't remember. Because they don't come. They still get their parliamentary pay. They still get their pay as MPs even though they don't appear in the chamber. They don't need to. They got voted in. The people in their constituencies voted for Sinn Féin. They still get their parliamentary pension, their parliamentary pay. They just don't need to turn up. They don't need to if they don't want to.
From the likes of rich donors like Lord Ali, driving disabled people further into suffering and hardship while rinsing that rich donor. Well, he wasn't being rinsed, he was voluntarily throwing them, glasses and suits and get them getting all these concert tickets. While people are literally having to think, can I have a hot meal today? Do I have to skip a hot meal for my children? Can I pay my energy bills? And these people are just getting, they're making that harder for people. They're making people suffer. And at the same time, they're in a salary, in the case of Keir Starmer, the top 1% of earners.
They're making people suffer needlessly. Seriously, needlessly. Like I said earlier on, the money they're saving from doing all these cuts, brutalising disabled people and pensioners. The money they're saving is fucking tiny, essentially, in what the government spends each year. Tiny. Needless. Absolutely needless, punishing us like this. They don't need to do it. Luckily, my mum got the winter fuel payment. Her pension from the NHS? Kind of shite, really. She's also got a private pension, which is basically keeping her afloat at this point. She's treading water, essentially. But she's doing quite well. Fairly well. All things considered. But me and my younger sister, we are literally struggling. We're barely being able to put hot meals on the table. Well, we don't actually sit at a table. Our dining table's down in the flat. Our actual flat. And we're struggling to feed ourselves properly. Plus there's 4 people in that household. 2 teenagers and 2 adults. And a cat. And a dog. She is struggling. Plus my youngest nephew, we call him the gaping maw. He hoovers up food at a great rate. trying to feed that sort of appetite while he's doing his football training. Dear God. I don't know how she's managing it, basically. I think she's forgoing having actual proper decent meals for herself on a daily basis. I keep on offering help to her. She says, no, you're in a worse state than I am. You don't need to do that. I want to help her. She asks me for recipes and stuff, which is good, and she freezes them. Good idea. Just bring them out, whack them in the microwave or defrost them and put them in the pan or in the oven. Being able to give her these little tips, I like doing that. I want to be able to help her. And I can slightly afford to get them decent birthday presents and Christmas presents each year, which is something, I guess. Plus, her man, her partner, says, you do enough. Don't you worry, Katie. I know how much you feel for us. Thank you for your help whenever you can give it. I like him. He is good, even though he voted for Labour. Christ, he used to be a Tory voter. At least I've moved him from those fucking bastards.
As well as having accommodation handed to him by number 10, by the government, and all the rest, he's also getting all these freebies. Starmer's government is, for a very good reason, one of the most unpopular in British democratic history, and it has no plan or vision so it can get out of this hole. But that doesn't mean all the critics...
Oh, sweetie. The only reason I managed to do that... Oh. Of course, I always stay awesome. Look at me. I always look awesome. Thank you, darling. It's been great seeing you. Thank you for being here. Is it 7? Thanks, Miss Hire. I was short by 1. Thank you for that. Yeah. I managed to stay awake for 24 hours because the pain keeps me awake, essentially. Used to it now. I do sleep, don't worry. Yeah, you go and have a good night. And I'll see you tomorrow as well. I'll see you tomorrow, sweetie. You look after yourself, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you for being here. Stay based.
Needs to go to Labour. Because the left, those of us who believe in a society running the interests of the majority, not the elites, we need to get our act together. The Green Party at the moment is simply failing to build on its breakthrough at the last election. Its leadership is invisible. There's no cut-through message. No attempt to harness people's anger and direct it in a different direction. If the left as a whole don't go act together, then we face Labour imploding and the hard right triumphing instead. Well, time's running out. We have to get our act together. Please like and subscribe, leave your thoughts and your comments. Help us take on the dire media landscape in this country. Patreon.com/OwenJones84. Share the video. Listen to us on the podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can just listen to this instead of, this. I'll speak to you about it.
Bye, Owen. Thank you, Owen. That was based, as always. Thank you. I do love my little twink. Oh, I will show you my favourite green MSP. Let's see if I can find a good clip of him. Ooh. Hang on. What is this? Oh my god. Gimme. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Here's my lovely little ginger twink. 6 years ago. Fucking hell.
Could you just explain to our viewers why your category...
Right, before Ross starts, I need to go and refresh myself. I'll be back momentarily, comrades. And the back. Hello. Had to go and say goodnight to Super Happy. He's just went to bed. Go and snot the face of him. Okay. Let's see how Ross deals with this person. Susanna's sometimes correct, oddly enough. Piers isn't. Has Piers ever been correct? Possibly. Never met the man. He might have been correct in some of his decisions he's made in his life. You know, weirder things have happened.
Of Sir Winston Churchill's life and career came down to he is a white supremacist mass murderer, intersposed in your tweet with a number.
Piers, Ross is correct. Churchill was a fucking monster. Just ask Dundee. Oh, by the way, everyone, 1920s? Give me a second. I'm going to have to lose your chat from my phone for a second here. If you're still here, Sozzled, thank you for the subs. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Always a pleasure to see you. Good night. Sweet dreams. Stay based. Let's see, when Winston Churchill was the MP for Dundee, of all places. I always thought that was more left-wing than fucking Churchill. Okay, let's see. Winston Churchill. Yeah, we know that. We don't communists. We know this. It's right wing wank. Christ's sake. Fuck it. I'll make this easy on myself. When was Churchill MP for Dundee? Winston Churchill was a member of Parliament for Dundee from 1908 to 1922. What the fuck? 14 years! He won the seat in a by-election in 1908 after losing his Manchester North West seat. So from Manchester up to Dundee. Bit of a change. He continued to hold the seat until he was defeated in the 1922 general election. So, fucking over a century ago, Christ's sake. I didn't realise it was 14 fucking years he was MP for Dundee. That's mad. Safe Liberal seat, apparently. But they got, the Liberals got brutalised in that 1922 election. Get wrecked, Lloyd George.
I think 7 or 8 clapping emojis applauding your own genius and describing Sir Winston in that manner.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's make a comparison. Piers, you're a sensitive soul. Yesterday you accused me of being a racist for pointing out that you look like honey-glazed gammon. If you want an example of real racism, you just have to look to Churchill. He talked about his belief in the triumph of the Aryan race. He hated Indians with a passion. He said they were a beastly people with a beastly religion. When a famine broke out, 3 million people starved to death. So that's why I said that he was a white supremacist. I said mass murderer because he always advocated the most violent, the most destructive option. He used poisoned gas against Kurds, against Afghans. He was a strong supporter of Britain's concentration camps in the Boer War, where 28,000 people, women and children, died. He always advocated the use of aerial bombardments in what he described as terror bombing campaigns. In fact, his own cabinet had to stop him when he was in the cabinet in the 20s. Cabinet colleagues had to stop him from bombing protesters in Ireland.
Winston Churchill was voted the greatest Briton of the last century for a reason. Is that people believe that he almost single-handedly...
Take a look at that vote, the breakdown of the people who voted for that. The vast majority were English people who didn't get brutalised by these fucking policies. Where do you think she got most of her fucking policies from? It was from this fucking monster of a politician. Fine, he got us through the fucking dark ages of the Second World War. I still hate the man with a fucking burning passion. Like I keep on saying, most Scots don't vote for these kind of policies. We hate people who actually promote and implement these on the entire country. We hate them. We don't like them at all. Trying to educate people on how bad fucking Winston Churchill was is a fucking task and a half. The man was a fucking ghoul.
Through the power of his rhetoric in World War II, saved this country from the Nazis. Again, you laugh. That sneering little
rhetoric
laugh.
that won the war. It was the
sneering little
soldiers,
laugh.
the sailors,
you
and
see,
the airmen who won the war, and
right,
they voted
okay.
him out when they came home.
Yeah, he was the British Prime Minister. He was the one making decisions which led to this country being able to stand up and save itself from Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. There is a creeping attempt now to besmirch everything that Churchill stands for. Yep. You know, I have a brother who's a British Army colonel who I talked about this to last night. He was spitting with rage from where he is currently serving his country, right? This just gets everybody's goat up. I don't defend everything Churchill did or said, right? I think he's a complex, difficult character in many ways.
As any historical hero will be.
But the idea that you simply eliminate... We heard a rant...
Sorry, Susanna. He's not a hero to me. Oh, Christ. Right, he went up against... Before the Americans entered the war, we did stand up against fascism and we did stand up against Hitler. We did do this. With him at the helm, essentially, until the Americans entered the theatre, until Pearl Harbor happened, essentially. You have to remember, there were still fucking Nazis in America at this point. Well, it still is, really. But back then, there were out and right fucking fascists campaigning against FDR, entering the war. We don't need to join this. And if we do want to join, we should be joining Hitler, and not the West. We should not be joining and helping with Canada and the UK and the rest of the Commonwealth countries and Poland fighting against this fucking staining of human history, essentially. Don't get me wrong, he didn't like Hitler either. But he still had some similar policies to him back in the day. He did. People need to be reminded of this. He has devices. I will agree with you on that, Piers. My God, you've said something true for a change. Fucking hell. Christ, this was 6 years ago. Fuck. I still class him a monster. I will never change my opinion on him. I won't. The man brought ruin to this country when he was in government back in the early 1900s to 1920s, essentially. I despise the man. We need to move on from these type of politics. They've came back again a century later. What the fuck is happening in our country?
There, which at no point offered any balance or any attempt to say anything positive at all about this man.
Well, I mean, if you want an example of racism, you can read some of Gandhi's work.
Exactly. YouTuber. Just like myself. Or Kev. Or Helena. Or My Left Eye. Who else have we got? We've got Sinan. We've got SK the Crusader. All of us. We are fighting against these policies. We don't want to see them back. We got rid of them for a fucking reason, Churchill. There's another one I hope is fucking burning.
Now, was Gandhi a racist? No, of course he wasn't. And he was a great and important figure.
Or Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, and Mandela said and did things in his early years that he would regret in his later years. So if you want to portray somebody as a racist, in the sense that Ross does with his eloquent stupidity, it's very easy to do so. But if you want to portray Churchill as a racist, my great-great-uncle and he, when they were Conservative MPs, they crossed the floor to the Liberals in part because of their outrage at the treatment of Chinese.
My dude, I don't know who you are. He was an he was an imperialist of the highest fucking order. He literally wanted to do the softer version of the jackboot on top of all of the British people. Obviously not like the Third Reich or anything like that, but nearly close to what the policies they were doing, that they were enforcing. A threat of death. Literally no threat of death, just death, straight away, without actually saying a fucking word. He wanted to implement some of the policies, not as harshly, but he wanted to bring them in for the UK, for us. He was a eugenicist as well. Thank you. No, You're not going to minimise us. Thank you. Christ. Trying to educate them on this fucking ghoul. It's never going to end. The reason he crossed the fucking floor is because most of his fucking Liberal Party members fucking despised him for the policies he wanted to promote.
Is indentured labour in South Africa. Now, Ross, if he checked his history, would know that. You can say that Churchill was an old guard conservative, and yet he supported the People's Budget in 1911. He campaigned for better treatment for coal miners, for shop workers. And he did many things which we will now regard as being central to the foundation of the welfare state. Bengal famine, you say yourself. They had a choice between feeding Bengal and feeding the Balkans. And at the time, Churchill, one of his great
He could do both. He didn't need to starve 3.6 million fucking people to death. Why don't these people fucking understand this? Christ's sake. There I go, I'm screaming into the fucking void again. He could have done everything. He could have kept feeding the people in the Bengal and fed the homelands and the other Commonwealth countries all at the same time. He didn't need to starve all those fucking people, those millions of people that he killed. He didn't need to do that. Christ's sake.
attributes. So he focused this nation. And Ross, again, in his sort of crude misunderstanding of history, says, oh, you know, it was the servicemen who won the war. Yes, of course, it's always the servicemen who won the war. But our political leadership was not willing to fight that war in the first place.
On Bengal, Mr. Greer, from the Cabinet Papers here, this is from direct message to Lord Wavell, his new Viceroy of India, right, from Churchill. Every effort must be made, even by the diversion of shipping, urgently needed for war purposes, to deal with local shortages in India. Then there are copies of letters he sends to the Prime Minister of Canada, to Australia, to Franklin D. Roosevelt and others, repeatedly over the next 2 years, in which he is beseeching them to help the people of Bengali. For you to categorise that as him being to blame for the deaths of 3 million people in Bengali, it's not just a...
Best part of 4 million peers. Please fucking listen to me. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We can't reach him anymore. Piers is lost to us. Well, he's never really part of us anyway. He cannot be saved. He just needs to be sidelined now, really. Well, obviously, it's a YouTuber. So do I, Reza. So do I.
Offensive. It is a downright lie.
No, Piers, you just don't understand history. That's the problem.
I'm reading history. I'm reading history from the Cabinet Papers,
preventing the people that you named from helping.
Quoting his own words.
So you mentioned who was then the Viceroy of India when Weevil was the Field Marshal in Winston Churchill's own war cabinet with Leo Amery, his Secretary of State for India. The two of them were sitting down planning how to get food to Bengal at the start of that famine. Churchill came in and stopped them, as is recorded in both of their diaries. In fact, Churchill spent so long stopping people from getting aid to Bengal. You mentioned Canada and Australia. Australian wheat ships were trying to dock in Calcutta and Churchill refused. And to go back to Bob's point, it wasn't to feed people in the Balkans, it was to stockpile food in the Balkans. There were not shortages. They wanted to stockpile food in case there were future shortages, while 3 million Indians were starving to death. Parents were killing their children rather than see them starve to death. It was after a year of that that Churchill finally realised. In fact, when he was getting letters from his own Secretary of State for India, his response was to complain that Gandhi hadn't died yet. He didn't care for months.
When you say he doesn't care, here's a letter he wrote to Franklin D. Roosevelt, the President of the United States. I'm seriously concerned about the food situation in India. Last year, we had a grievous famine in Bengali, through which at least 700,000 people died. This year is a good crop of rice, but we're faced with an acute shortage of wheat, aggravated by unprecedented storms. He's begging Franklin D. Roosevelt for help, but actually Roosevelt was unable to give him because he was...
That's after he had destroyed 46,000 boats that could have got food around Bengal. He let that famine happen.
So let me explain to you.
I was just going to mention the point that Ross just brought up there. Like I keep on saying, he could have actually done all of those things without actually starving 3.6 million fucking people. Refusing to let other Commonwealth ships dock can actually feed the people there. Absolutely fucking despicable. Like I keep on saying, Churchill was a fucking monster.
For so long. Let me explain after the photos reached the rest of the world and outraged the rest of the world, he then had to do something about it.
Do you know what Sir Winston Churchill was actually doing during World War II? What is funny about any of this? What is funny about your attempts to smear the reputation?
The only one who is appearing funny here, Piers, is you, by the way. We've had actual fucking historians say to you, you're taking the wrong stance on this situation, on what happened back then. You are. Trust me on this. I've read up on it as well as part of my fucking dissertation. He didn't need to do this. It wasn't just the famine. There was other diseases happening in the area and in other parts of India and parts of the Commonwealth as well. And they disregarded it. He didn't give a fuck. And because of Operation Legacy, thank you, after we finish with this one, I will show everyone Operation Legacy and see what happened. It made doing my dissertation a fucking nightmare. When the information doesn't fucking exist because it got burnt, fucking destroyed, hidden away, locked under a 150-year fucking rule, locked in Hansards, under the fucking Parliament building, never to be seen, even by myself or other actual academics who are researching this shit. They can't get access to it. If I had all that information, I'd be able to come up with a better theory of why you fucking done this. I can't because the information is precluded from me. I can't get access to it or it doesn't fucking exist anymore. Christ's sake. Seriously, just fucking end me at times. Seriously, I can't handle it. Piers, your take on history is fucking crap. Please, read a fucking book. In fact, Shashi Tharoor, Inglorious Empire, fucking read it. Might actually open your fucking eyes.
Of a great leader like Winston Churchill. Why do you get a kick out of this? Why do you not have any sense of honour about you, which allows you to offer even a semblance of balance? Again, you
Piers,
laugh.
it's very brave of you to talk about honour when the one thing the British public know about you is that you were sacked from a newspaper for lying about British troops on the front page and refusing to apologise for it.
Right,
So it's
the
brave
reason I
of you to
didn't,
talk
okay,
about honour.
I knew you would do this, so let me explain what happened there. I was sacked from the Daily Mirror for publishing photographs of some British troops, rogue elements of a regiment, who had been abusing Iraqis. They were held to account. And
only a few of them. Only a few of them, Piers. We've been telling you this for fucking decades now. Seriously, is this...
I'm sure you know more than the head of the British Army 2 years ago, but I suspect you don't. Rather like you don't know more than what happened in Bengal during the famine and Winston Churchill's culpability. But let me come to a wider point, and I'm sure you're going to spray gun other stuff at me about my life, which is completely irrelevant. Let me ask you this.
What's interest in your life?
Yeah, let me ask you this. Do you believe that Winston Churchill did anything positive in World War II for the people of his country?
Yes, he showed strong leadership, but let's not pretend that that wipes away everything else he did. I mean, you talk as if almost I wouldn't exist or I'd exist in a very different way if it wasn't for Churchill. In fact, because of Churchill, I almost didn't exist at all. Because of Churchill's hatred for the workers on the Clyde and his refusal to properly defend the Clyde, my gran was almost killed in the Clydebank Blitz. Clydebank was the only place in the UK completely destroyed by German bombing because Churchill and his government wouldn't provide ammunition to the anti-aircraft batteries in Clydebank because they hated the workers and they hated the trade unions there. Bob mentioned what he did for miners. Miners in South Wales hate Winston Churchill because he deployed troops and police officers against them when they were just campaigning for their own rights.
Okay,
there are communities across the UK, never mind Ireland, Kenya, India.
Bob, again, I asked him to say anything positive, and he immediately segues into the relentless diatribe of abuse.
There's no reaching him, is there? No way whatsoever. I don't know why some of us keep on trying. obviously it is good fodder to watch and dispute what Piers is saying. Educating people about how the right actually speaks is always a good thing. Trust me on that. This is the best education we can actually show you, to show you what he actually promotes, what he stands for, and what he actually reports on or speaks about on his show, on his platform, before he became a YouTuber. Oh, there's a goal. Let's see if I can get more followers than Piers does on YouTube. I'm already doing better on Twitch now. I'm happy about that. Thank God. Bring it on. Being able to counter what Piers and his ilk say is always a good thing. Don't get me wrong, it's empty calories ingesting what this idiot actually says. Good for educating people though, must admit that.
If Churchill was a white supremacist and Hitler clearly was a white supremacist, I mean, is there some moral equivalence between Hitler and Churchill that's been made here?
Well,
And as
Ross,
regards,
I just wonder whether that was the deliberate intention of those two phrases that you used. Churchill was a white supremacist mass murderer. And if it wasn't for Sir Winston Churchill, who knows what would have happened to Great Britain?
Yeah, not just Churchill, though. If it wasn't for Churchill...
Don't get me wrong, my granddad, he died 3 months before I was born. Died 3 months after I was born. I was born in the March, he died in the May. He was Tory through and through, don't get me wrong about this one. But when Churchill started promoting these kind of policies and what happened in Bengal, that's when my granddad started to change. This is my mum's dad, by the way, not my dad's dad. He said, he doesn't need to do this. There's plenty of Commonwealth countries where we can get all the food from for everyone. And he started to slightly change. Obviously, he was still economically Tory and that sort of thing. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps and all that fucking bollocks. I am so glad my mum educated me about my granddad. I really am. Said he'd be absolutely horrified that you're a communist. Seriously, yeah, he wouldn't have liked it at all. I can live with it. I can agree why you're like this. I know what you've lived under. Obviously, I'm your mum. But Grandad wouldn't have liked it at all. He was all about individuality, so I choose to be a communist, obviously. He wouldn't have liked it. I don't think it would have changed, actually, come to think of it. Don't think it would have. I was always destined to be on the left anyway with all my policies and what I want to happen for this country. You would have just had to have lumped it. Sorry, Grandad. So me and my mum both agree it is good that he never had to deal with you being a communist. Fair enough. The last person I told that I was a communist was my gran, my mum's mum. She said, I always thought you were kind of left-wing. Then she called me my mum's name. He said, no, I'm not mum. I'm mum's daughter. I'm Katie. Okay, no, I can get why you're like this. Don't worry. I miss my gran. She was quite cool. Really good baker. But I don't think Grandad would have always been mumping and moaning about me being this far left. I've managed to capture my niece. She keeps on... sorry, sweetie, I keep on misgendering her. They keep on asking me. He said, would you have disagreed with what you've done to me? He said, I don't care if you would have disagreed with it. I really don't. I'm here for Ross. See, look at my lovely, gorgeous twink. Look at him. Let's see.
Still President Roosevelt of America and Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union. But we don't pretend that Joseph Stalin was a decent man. He was a scumbag. You're not Stalinist, are you, Piers?
Thank you. That's the first word of common sense you've come up with this morning, mate.
This is about us taking a rounded view of history. You said yourselves these
you
are
have no
complex
rounded
characters,
view of
and
history.
yet
You're
here
just
in
a
the UK,
Churchill
we are.
Oh no, it's definitely talked weirdly about in my family. Trust me on that. Being a communist amongst kind of leftist people. Don't get me wrong. Both my sisters, my mum, and my stepdad are kind of left leaning anyway. But being this far left, I am the only Marxist on my mum's side of the family. On my dad's side of the family, my dad was a Marxist, but he had to keep stum. He was the main engineer for Trident, by the way. He was a nuclear engineer, so he had to keep stum, essentially. Even though I didn't have, I had more contact than both my sisters did with my dad. He said, I'm glad you're a leftist. I'm glad you're a Marxist, Katie. That's good. Do they not? Oh, Christ. I'm happy as long as they don't for Reform or the scum. I can maybe live with them voting for Labour, kinda, maybe. I'd rather vote for Socialist Independence or maybe the Green Party, but I know that's not always possible. I know this. I'm a realist. I try to reach out to people whenever I can. Oh, Christ's sake. So fucking depressing. I want voter turnout to go up, not down. Obviously trying my best. There's only so much one wee lowly Scottish woman can do. I do try.
Unable to talk.
You have
We're
no
unable to
rounded
talk
view.
about this
Listen
without
to you.
folk like yourself.
I was going to say, if I say anything that is very fucking based, please clip whenever you come over, Reza, if you can. Don't feel obliged to, obviously, but if you can, if I say something really fucking good and I can put it in my clips library on my Twitch or on my YouTube, I'd like that, so I can edit them and make them shorts on YouTube and just general clips that people can show on Twitch. I'd like that. That'd be cool.
Pierce having a tantrum.
You can keep
It's
talking.
very snowflake of you.
I'm not snowflake about Winston Churchill. I know he was a flawed character. I also know that he almost single-handedly dragged this country from the abyss in World War II.
That's wildly ahistorical.
No,
What the fuck, Piers? You have to remember, we had the Commonwealth behind us. About 30 million other people outside of Britain were actively helping us fight the fascist horde trying to take over Europe. He tried to get over here. Ha ha ha, he failed. Get it up, you Austrian wank. Sorry, Vogel, if you can hear it. Not all Austrian people are fucking stains on humanity like he was. Obviously, Vogel is based. We love Vogel. We had the Commonwealth behind us. We had so many other fucking people helping us to do this. The fact that he wrought this devastation on great swathes of the fucking global populace, not just the UK, is a stain on UK history, on British history. That's why I keep on saying the Empire fucking sucked.
Wildly historical. When you say something's wildly historical, Mr. Greer, what you mean is correct, because history is history.
No.
But when you say I'm wildly historical, you mean I'm right.
You're wildly ahistorical.
You said
False.
historical.
No, that's...
No.
Yeah. And let me ask
I
you
think
this.
the thing is, Ross, you seem to be articulating a completely isolated, unique version of...
No, he isn't. No, he isn't. Trust me on this. Ross is saying what it was actually like. Thank you. Ross is not alone in thinking this stuff. We've actually read things. We know stuff. As Tyrion Lannister used to say, we drink and we know things. This is correct. This is accurate. Deal with it, Piers. Like I say, sometimes Susanna is sometimes correct, sometimes incorrect. Piers obviously, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he said some things correct in his broadcasting career or in his newspaper career. I'm sure he has. Can't find it. Why would I want to go through all his fucking either print media or broadcasting media? I don't think I'd fucking handle it. I'm sure I'd fucking implode.
History. You just,
No,
you know,
not
you.
at all.
Yes, you. Well, you are, aren't you? I mean, you
No,
know,
I mean,
everybody celebrates Sir Winston Churchill.
No, they
as
don't.
the
If you go to
hero.
India, Ireland, Kenya, they absolutely don't. If you come to communities like Clydebank that I represent, if you go to the South Wales valleys, these mining communities, the problem is these points of view that have been long held, since Churchill did things to these communities, have not been allowed to get out because the prevailing narrative is of a war hero who you cannot speak ill of. But he is a complex character, and we need to start being honest about our
You
own
can
history.
be critical, but the way that you're speaking about him, a white supremacist mass murderer.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely.
Sorry, Susanna. Obviously, Piers is obviously incorrect. But Christ's sake, he was a white supremacist. You have to remember this. The man was a fucking imperialist. He was for the monarchy. He was for the British Empire. How many times do I have to tell people this? For fuck's sake. Christ. Trying to educate people about Winston Churchill is so fucking long and boring and infuriating to me. I feel like I've been doing it for fucking decades.
It's the equivalence with Hitler, which
There's
I
no-
think people find really offensive.
I didn't
to
draw
be
an
honest.
equivalence
And
between
no one
Winston
is
Churchill and
denying.
Hitler,
No
but
one
did you
is.
know one of his own cabinet ministers
No one
did?
is denying that every historical hero should be scrutinised. But the use of the language is so offensive.
I was
Susanna, please. He was a fucking white supremacist. Maybe you're not on the levels of Hitler, but he was still a fucking white supremacist. And he wanted to brutalise. Thank you, Reza. Correct. I feel I'm going to be talking about this absolute monster of a human being and politician for the rest of my fucking life. The man is so fucking detestable, and some of the policies he promoted when he was either with the Conservatives or the Liberal Party back in the day, trust me, he was mainstream for a bit. Don't get me wrong in that. Fine, Prime Minister during the Second World War. I get it. To a certain level. But for fuck's sake, we have to teach people about Churchill for obvious reasons. All the policies he loved that he wanted to promote for here in the UK are coming back now. And we don't want them. We got rid of them for a fucking reason. Christ.
just going to completely agree with what you were saying. Nobody is saying that you can't reevaluate people, and every generation and every great historian looks at history afresh, which is really important for us, an understanding of life. But there is a difference between a great historian summing up and reevaluating a great man's life and your rather trite, infantile sloganeering, saying, oh, I'm going to stick a racist tag on this person.
We're not doing that lightly. We've looked through his political career and his career out of politics, out of Parliament, and back in again after the war, after Attlee, what he promoted. Lots of us have actually researched this fucking man. I hope you have. And all the policies he wanted to promote for here in the UK against their own population. Christ. I can feel my anger rising again. Fucking hell, help me.
Or a sexist tag on that person. This is not history. This is just silly slogan.
And you know
politics.
what it's become? You know what's become? It's become worse than that. Is that there's a younger generation, and you'll absolutely epitomise this, who decide to twist history to suit a narrative that people like Winston Churchill are evil people who should be condemned. And you have not presented a single positive thought process about Winston Churchill at all, which I know that 95%, probably more of our viewers, will be looking at what you're saying, hearing what you're saying with utter revulsion. And they'll be saying, why does this kid, who's 24, who's somehow been an elected official in Scotland, why does he not actually appreciate the great that Winston Churchill did, even if he doesn't?
Oh, Christ's sake. Is there any reaching these people? Seriously? There's only so much I can fucking handle trying to educate people who think like Piers. Not within my family, thank fuck for that. But in the wider community, people who actually agree with some of these policies that he wanted to promote back then when he was in Parliament during the early 1900s and after the war in the 1950s. I don't agree with him. I don't. And if we actually drown out those voices by loud-mouthed bastards like you, Piers, we're never going to progress. We're never going to get any fucking better. All these policies will still come flooding back to us and destroy what we've got left. And I'm not here for that. I'm going to fight it every fucking turn.
Like some of the other stuff that he did. And when you say that you drew no equivalence between Churchill and Hitler, we all know that Hitler was a white supremacist mass murderer. So when your only categorization of Winston Churchill in a tweet with all your clapping emojis is that Churchill was a white supremacist mass murderer, you are doing an equivalence with Adolf Hitler. You are saying the man that saved us, you are saying the man who saved us from the Nazis is actually...
We're calling out what he done, what he actually promoted, the policies he was standing for. For fuck's sake, Piers. That's what we usually get from him towards the end. Seriously.
No better than a Nazi himself. Do you believe that Winston Churchill was any better than a Nazi?
Of course he was. Of course he was.
But you called him a white supremacist mass murderer. That's what Nazis are, Mr. Greer. So when you say, of course he was better than Nazis, actually you want...
Piers, take a look at his policies when he was in cabinet. See how lots of his political comrades, political other MPs within either the Liberals or the Tories, both of those parties, most of them didn't, a good few of them, not most of them, a good few of them didn't like the policies he was promoting. That's why he fell out with both fucking parties. That's why he needed the coalition when he became the MP. When Chamberlain stood down. He still wanted to promote them. Don't get me wrong. He helped us get through the Second World War. He did. I am not going to belie that. Belittle that at all. I won't do that. But the policies promoted before the war and after them absolutely ruined great swaths of the UK. And I don't want that anymore. I'm fucking fed up of it. In my own lifetime, I've lived through it. I'm not going back. I'm not going to let this country fucking regress any further back to what the policies that Churchill wanted to promote. I'm not going to do it. Some of us are fucking fed up with this. Sorry for you shouting. I do get kind of angry at times.
want the world to think that you believe he was no better than a Nazi. That's really what you want to believe, isn't it?
He was less worse than the Nazis, but his own cabinet secretary for India said himself, I cannot distinguish between Winston Churchill's views on race and Adolf Hitler's. I wouldn't make that comparison because I think it's crass. His own cabinet minister in his wartime cabinet, a pro-empire conservative just like him, was so revolted by Churchill's hostility to the Indians as they were dying that he felt he had to make that comparison.
Yeah.
I wouldn't because it's crass.
All right, Mr. Greer, you know what I find revolting? You.
Oh God, more peers. Ah, man frog, fuck off. Let's just make sure that people saw some of Helena's stream earlier on. Excuse me, sorry about that.
Good evening, chat. How are we doing? It's fine Friday evening, on the day in which the Labour Party, and honestly, the Tories, got absolutely destroyed. Yes, it was technically yesterday that actually happened, but today we got all of the results of the destruction. Let me just change. There we go. That's the wrong orientation. Let me change that. There we go. It's funny though, wasn't it? Funny. Just how much the Tories and Labour lost the election today. Bella Staffordian, please weep with you in solidarity. I mean, it was...
I always love talking to you, by the way. It is always productive. You give me new tips to do. Thank you. As always, Helena based. We are Helena stands over here, obviously. Plus, I missed Kev. Oh God, I need to check. Give me a second before going to Helena.
it's Tories and Reform, like same shit, different colour party.
No, he
right?
didn't say. Hopefully we'll
we
get
all know
Kev tomorrow or today
Reform
now.
is just ex-Tories.
Yes, definitely today.
For the first time in your life, you voted for someone who won? Same. I think this might be the first election I have... It's the second time. The first time I ever voted in an election where the candidate I voted for won was in 2019, when I voted for the Labour Party candidate in Manchester Central. But every other election I've ever voted in, no matter whether it's local elections or Westminster elections or mayoral elections, every single other candidate that I have voted for has lost. It's just this one and 2019, where I voted for the winner. Well done to Theresa Cullen of the Broxtowe Alliance in Beeston Central and Rylands, who defied the odds to beat the Labour juggernaut, defeated the Labour leader on Nottinghamshire County Council for the Independent Socialist Broxtowe Alliance, having been kicked out of the party for... been disciplined by the party and blocked...
Disciplined by the party for being too socialist, being too left-wing, being too caring for her community. Funny that, isn't it? Hopefully that's hitting alarm bells off in Morgan McSweeney's head. With any luck. You never know.
from standing as a candidate for criticising the winter fuel payment cuts. Now she's run as an independent for the Broxtowe Alliance and won as an independent socialist candidate in, like, Broxtowe. You know? Just shows you that even in pretty kind of swing seat...
You still here, Reza? Do you think there is hope for your area, for Newcastle and Durham in the northeast? Do you think there is hope? If you think there is hope, I can help. If there is a will, there is a way. I always believe in this. I'll try my best, obviously. More concentrated on my local area, but if I can help other areas within the UK, I'd love that. It'd be brilliant. To show Labour where they're going wrong, and to hopefully educate people, do not vote for fucking reform! Do we need to worry about the Tories in the northeast? I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, they're voting for reform. Fuck. Lots of people in the northeast need saving. Hopefully some of them can be reached. Obviously not everyone. I get that. I understand it. Electoral politics is fucking mental at the minute. Who'd have thunk it? It's not just 14 years of Tory misrule and devastation wrought across the land. Labour are doing the same fucking policies. Thank you, Rachel. You're doing amazingly. Thank you. Destroying ordinary people's lives. You're doing amazingly. You're trying to kill us all again. That is good. I like. We need to improve this. In any way I can help, let me know. I'm actually quite good at doing pamphleteering. I can create little pamphlets that I can send down to you if you like. Obviously, it won't be until the next general election, I think, or whenever your next local election is. Was it 4 years or something? Something like that? So that'll be 2029. My God. 2029 and 2030 are going to be fucking crazy. Yeah. We told people this. Did they listen? Apparently not. I hope we can reach some people at least. That would be something, just to move the dial a little bit more close to left, or at least more closer to centre, at least, and not this far-right bollocks that we're dealing with. Like I keep on saying, I feel like I'm screaming into the fucking void. Only so much one person can do, obviously. That's why we need to organise. Always good.
Conservative areas, potentially, you can still win as a socialist.
Look at our lovely darling drinking hand brew. Well done, Helena.
I voted for the SNP candidate in 2019 and she won, but other parties I voted for in other elections have lost. Seems to be the continual life of being a left-wing voter is just always voting for the loser.
No, up here,
But, you
Helena.
know, this is what we signed up to. We signed up to the long game. We signed up to the long fight. The long march to justice.
We'll get there.
Well, let's be fair. I guess none of us live in London, that's the thing. If we lived in London, we'd be able to vote for winners all the time. Or we would have done previously, at least.
Can we get decent, even centre-left in the northeast, Reza, do you think? I would hope. I really would hope. We are. Do you think? Fuck it. Fuck it, I'll say it live here on stream. I'm saying 2027 or late 2027 or early 2028. So in the next 2.5 to 3 years, essentially. I will write it down, I will put it in my notepad and I'll put it in an envelope and I'll give it to Super Hubby and he'll keep it. He'll put it away somewhere, in a box. Or in a book somewhere. Well, guys, maybe even a DVD box. I've got plenty of DVDs here now that I can watch. Like I've said before, huge Marvel geek. God damn you, Kevin Feige, you've ruined my fucking Marvel comics, you fucking wank. Oh, I watched the Marvels last week. I thought that was amazing. It is brilliant. If you haven't watched the Marvels, watch it. It is amazing. And the Multiverse of Madness. I like Bendy Batch. He does quite well as Doctor Strange. He does. Oh, plus Scarlet Witch. Elizabeth Olsen? I quite like her. She's good as the Scarlet Witch. And obviously you've got Vision as well. In some ways I'm glad they killed off Iron Man, they killed off Stark. He died later in the comics, but he still died. They brought it forward a little bit, by about a couple of editions, I think. Two or three. So hopefully they'll actually centre the arc now on Spider-Man, Doctor Strange and Hulk Banner. That's where they should go to next, and obviously the Guardians. Yeah, I don't blame them. I really don't. I don't blame yous. Lots of areas across the UK, especially in the industrial areas, especially in North East England, especially here on the west coast of Scotland, especially here in Glasgow, down in Manchester and Liverpool, and parts of London, and the docks down there, and like Felixstowe, Dover, they've all been left behind. Dover got bolstered because we were part of the EU. That was our main dock, and so was Felixstowe. But they've now just been brutalised. Don't get me wrong, I voted to remain because I didn't want these fucking wanks in charge, and look what's fucking happened. I wanted to leave the EU for my own socialist reasons, my own Marxist reasons, essentially. But I didn't want these fucking stains in charge. And look what's fucking happened. Our country's been brutalised by right-wing politics all of my fucking life. I can't be arsed with it anymore. Oh, no, I agree with you, Reza. Totally, yeah. That is easily possible. But because of the Scottish Nationalist Party, they're basically based up here. Anytime there's a by-election or election, the SNP always fucking run. Always. Even against the Speaker here in my own seat when we had Gorbals, Mick. Christ, Michael Martin. Remember him? Speaker? He was the one right before Bercow. Technically, he was my MP. Obviously, on the ballot paper, it just came up as the Speaker of the House, and that was it. Plus, there was a couple of others, him and 4 others. Always SNP, always Scottish Socialist, a Lib Dem, and usually 1 or 2 independent, depending what year it was. But whenever Michael Martin was the Speaker, I always voted against him. The only time I ever voted for Labour was during the Labour landslide in 1997. And I voted for an MP. You might recognise her name, Jackie Baillie. So she was my MP before Holyrood got instituted.
Imagining McSweeney in a bunker under Whitehall, banging a table with a map of the constituencies, foaming at the mouth, throwing his shoe at Pat McFadden. Literally, it's the downfall sequence, you know? Yep, yeah, we are the only thing we win ever is the moral high ground, Karen. I did watch, like, 10 minutes of the Ethan Klein Hassan discussion, and then I immediately turned off because I was going to have a meltdown and an aneurysm otherwise.
I don't blame you, Helena. I couldn't do it either. A lot of my UK comrades I watch on Twitch and YouTube. Sorry, Lance. I love you desperately. You do quite well. You do very well, actually, at times. I love you. But no, I don't like this content drama. And plus, Ethan, no, just fuck off. Nah, can't be arsed. I am with you, Helena, on that one. Sorry, Raptor. I missed your stream tonight. I couldn't handle it. I scream enough into the void about my own politics over here, let alone fucking what Ethan and Hassan are saying.
I mean, the Greens did okay. It wasn't areas of the country we're likely to win. Like, there were very precious few London constituencies, for example. The defeat and coming third in West England mayoral election, that was a disappointment. That's a disappointment for the Greens, and that should lead to some soul search.
In some of the things that he promotes, Jamie Driscoll, Christ, that's a mouthful. Jamie Driscoll is beast. I like Jamie. He does quite well. Thank you, Jamie. Good. Very good job. I'm glad he exists in this world. No, it wasn't bad. I like Jamie. He is good. Like Helena and Kev and Raptor and Lance over at the Serfs. And my left eye. He does quite well as well. There's lots of us. And we're promoting good policy. If only they'd fucking listen to us. But no, we have to be purged. We're the left lunatics. We're on the fringe. No one believes in any of our policies, obviously. We are fed up of getting gaslighted, seriously.
But broadly, I don't think the Greens were expecting huge amounts of inroads at this election because there were a lot of central, kind of inner city, urban progressive seats where there wasn't an election happening. So that's Israel-Palestine stuff again. I didn't wake up early enough to harass James O'Brien. Obviously, I was up very late doing the stream. Yeah. I'm in one space that's sympathetic to Ethan, and even then they're like, what the fuck are you doing? The problem is he's out of his depth, right? Like, even if you have some sympathy with Ethan's position, which I really don't, even if you had some sympathy with Ethan's position over Israel or Palestine or left-wing anti-Semitism, or Hassan's conduct as a political influencer, right? Even if you had some sympathy with Ethan, you wouldn't be convinced by his performance, you know? I'm not convinced by his performance, and I don't sympathise with him. But even if you did sympathise with him, like, I don't think you're looking at what Ethan Klein is doing and thinking that he's a good ambassador for your position, right?
Ooh,
Don't you
we've
worry,
got a
chat.
lurker. Hello, lurker.
We will get to
Hi.
James O'Brien. We will get to James O'Brien later. Don't you worry, the James O'Brien snark will be here. Worry not, chat. James O'Brien will eventually. He did a whole segment today. He literally had a caller and he harangued them for being pro-Corbyn, and I'm just like, you got what you wanted, mate. This is what you wanted. Suddenly, 20 points ahead has turned to polling at 20. Is that beer or juice? It is the most important beverage in the land. It's Iron Brew.
Woohoo! Well said, Helena. Even though they fucking destroyed it with the sugar tax. Don't get me wrong, it's still the most sugary drink in the UK. Other than some of those Monster Energy ones, dear God, but you've got other things added into Monster. But yes, thank you, Helena. Iron Brew is the most soft drink. The most perfect soft drink, especially for hangovers. He always is, Freza. We know this. Plus, where's my... Oh, God. I miss
But we are just going to watch, like...
Damn. I miss my favourite lesbian in the chat. I was over on YouTube for most of the chat, not on Twitch. I miss my favourite lesbian. I will get my favourite lesbian later on.
The whole of the first hour of James O'Brien's thing today, because it's going to be so funny. Like, I do think that if we go through the next set of local elections and of the urban progressives inner city seats, we don't see big green gains, then it does mean I think we need a new party of the left, or a big coalition as well, you know? Not surprised, Thelma. Like, I think that that was what would happen, but like, again, people are taking a lot from these results about there's not mentioning the fact that there are only certain areas of the country that were being polled today, which is why I actually think this is a worse day for the Tories than it is for Labour. Everyone seems to only be discussing what's happening to the Labour Party right now. They don't seem to want to discuss the fact that this might be the Tories cooked forever. Tory heartlines being shredded, you know? The Tories have failed to defend every single majority council that they were holding this time. They were the biggest, they had the most to defend. They had the most councils to defend, and they lost all of them. Every single council the Tories had a majority on that they were defending, they lost every single one. Every single one. And it wasn't close either in most of them. Yeah, like the Tories absolutely shredded at this election. If there was any kind of floating Tory voters who were reform curious, who didn't think reform were a serious party, they're a fucking serious party now. They are a serious party now. And we know from the internal polling, we know from how people poll, from what we were looking at on the information earlier on this week, that it's mostly Tory voters who switch to reform. It's not really Labour switchers, it's Tories and non-voters who are most likely to switch to reform. If this kind of dynamic continues, expect the Tories to be 17, 18, 16 even % in the polls. There's going to be polls moving forward, you know, there's going to be voting intention polls that have the Tories on below 20%. Below 20%, mark my words. I will make an even more brazen prediction. I think in the next 6 months or so, we'll start seeing polls where the Tories are below the Liberal Democrats. The Lib Dems will probably be ahead of the Tories in 6 months' time. Who'll be the first Tory defectors? Bradman is locked in pretty much. Anyone else? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. There'll almost certainly be a lot of them. If this dynamic continues, of course, it might fizzle out. Because things can fizzle out. Reformer, ahead in the polls at the moment, are doing really well currently. They're on the ascendancy. But something might happen that knocks them off course. We can't predict everything that happens. But if the dynamic continues, we'll start seeing defections in Westminster. And I don't think it'll take long. Especially in council areas with huge Tory to Reform swings. A lot of Tory MPs will feel like that their best chance of re-election in Westminster is sticking with Reform early.
Who have we got? We've got Aiko, we've got Ricky, we've got Jack, we've got Dead Domain, we've got Amy.
Priti Patel?
We've got Kai.
I mean, she does love Farage, it's true. I don't think that's true. I think Nick Timothy and Neil O'Brien are too... They're too long time in terms of Tory... they're too high up internally with the opinions of people in the Tories to want to ruin that, potentially. We'll see. Mansfield went turbo reform, sadly. That's the prime kind of area. Will we get Labour to Green defections, though? That's what that's what I really want. I think we'd have to see local elections that are in Labour heartlands going Green before we start seeing that. Be interesting to see what happens in Holyrood as well. Remember the Holyrood and the Senedd have also got elections coming up sometime soon. That'll be interesting.
Hi, Helena. I think I might have said in the chat, both the Senate and Holyrood are next May, so in a year. Don't you worry, I will be campaigning, or canvassing, not campaigning. I'm not running for election, but I will be campaigning. Don't get me wrong on this one. It's going to be fun. I will try to do my best with canvassing my local area. I really want to see more green MSPs. I really do. That'll be fun. That'll be brilliant.
Zara and Apsana should go to the Greens. I think Zara would do better with the Greens, but I think Apsana would do better with some kind of independent group. This is the problem that I have, is that if you're looking at the Muslim areas, the high Muslim areas, only one of those wards saw any amount of support for the Greens. Mostly it was support behind independence. And if we want a broad left, coalition that's going to vote well, it's got to include both the voters that we want to win over on geopolitics, which is a lot of Muslim voters on things like Gaza. We also want to win over urban progressives as well. That's the coalition we should be trying to build, rather than between urban progressives and conservationists and Tory shires, right? That's the problem the Greens have, is they're trying to build the wrong coalition. Whereas a Corbyn party, not him specifically, you know what I mean, right? Some kind of successor movement to momentum, but outside with a new party, that would be the bridge between Muslim communities and urban progressives, which is, I think, a more stable coalition. Do you think there might be more pushback on reform now they've proved themselves a legit threat to Conservative and Labour? I mean, the Labour believed so. Labour were literally marking them as the people that they were competing with and not the Tories. I think we'll see a shift in Labour messaging now to speak about the Reform UK. Reform UK is the real opposition rather than the Tories, or consider them to be. We'll see, Bruce. We'll see. No, I've not seen that one non-binary. The only ones we get, I see down south, are Iron Brew, Iron Brew Extra and the 1901. That's true.
Good choices, Helena. Good choices. I like the 1901. It's a proper recipe. They do have to pay a tax on it, but you get it in the glass 1 litre bottles. And it's $1.70 here now. Don't get me wrong, I do still buy it. Like the proper Iron Brew. I still drink normal Iron Brew, the one that's got the sugar tax on it, or, well, they avoided it by reducing the amount of sugar in it. Still the same flavour. Different hit. It is still the best soft drink, especially in vodka. I have actually tried it in Jack Daniels. That's a weird combination. I did drink it, done quite well, but still tasted weird.
At least UK politics is exciting. I get loads of things to talk about. We had fucking 450 viewers at one point last night before everyone went to bed.
Yes, you did.
If anyone was wondering why I have so much Iron Brew, because I was drinking this yesterday, it's because my local corner shop did me 2 of these 2 litre bottles for £1. I paid 50p each for 2 litres of Red Bull. Red Bull? Iron Brew.
Victory!
How are Labour going to battle reform when they largely agree with them? I feel a 2010 style reform-like argument coming along. I mean, they may. I mean, a lot of the messaging has been around the NHS and workers' rights. It just hasn't really cut through.
Let's go
It is a
see
steal,
to Kai.
literally.
Let's see how Proudly Radical is doing. It's been a bit since I've actually went said hi to Kai and monster him with an actual Marxist in his anarchist stream. It's quite fun.